You're about to listen to TADPOG, Tyler and Dave Play Old Games. It's a comedy video game podcast. We would like to stress that the hosts are not experts and are really just very crass commentators. Seriously, this is an explicit podcast that happens to talk about video games sometimes. So please enjoy this pretty okay podcast with Tyler and Dave.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to yet another 713.
So far,
Strong.
it's 7:13. We'll see where we're at in a couple of hours.
TADPOG podcast. Tyler and Dave and Ian and a special guest host play old games. I guess since it's probably not a huge spoiler since I put it in the while we did raw all raw calls last week. I think I even said like, "Hey, Brooks' family was sick. We didn't do it." So, hey, Brooks is here.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Brooks.
Good to have you on the show, my man.
All right, good to actually be on the show. This is fun.
Oh, this is the first. This is the first.
First one. Third podcast now for me that I've been on.
You threw your hat in for the ring on for WWF games like way back.
I think you bought one off of me, and that's when I threw my name in the hat for him.
I totally remember that.
Please don't ask me to remember details, but I promise you, I assure you, I remember that.
I remember it because you bought enough games that I had you pay me in Doom Eternal.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that now. Because there was a man, I can't remember. I think the WWF, whichever game it was kind of like, oh, cool, we got that now. But there was one, I can't remember what the big one was that I really wanted. And I was happy that
it was Mega Man X2.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Very nice.
Sweet.
So yeah, Dave has some of my old collection.
It's true.
Resting on his shelf.
That's right. I do.
Because, of course, we're talking about the 3 LJN WWF games, Super Wrestlemania, Royal Rumble, and Raw. And we had to have our foremost wrestleologist, an actual living wrestler. The second one we've had on the show, since Leva was on once.
But the first one you can actually hear.
Yep. And can hear us.
Right.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks, Ian.
But yeah, I grew up with these games. Even though LJN in video games are kind of typically a bad sign.
Usually it's no bueno, right?
Unless it's Jaws. Other than that,
there are a few LGN games that I like, but there's a little bit of development history, I think, with these WWF games, which I think explains why there might not be as bad as what we're used to from LJN. But we'll get to that in the second segment. I got a whole thing for that.
Okay.
Well, then before we do a deep dive into all these games, what you guys been up to? What you been doing?
Well, if you'd like for me to start
Sure.
and get my usual shit out of the way, I finished a lot of shows that season finale'd over the last week or so. Succession finale, Barry finale.
Is that series or season?
Series.
Series.
And Ted Lasso finale was yesterday, and I watched it, and I got a little verklempt.
I saw a lot of posts about it, immediately shut Facebook down, so I need to get that.
Don't look at the internet because they're talking about it everywhere. But those are 3 excellent shows. I still recommend, except for the 4th season of Barry, which was total fucking garbage. And on we go.
Not stopping.
The next thing I watched, there was a little discussion that came up on the Discord recently about the movies Searching and Missing.
Yeah, I saw that conversation kind of go. And
so are you guys at all familiar with these movies?
No, and I was kind of laughing to myself because when the conversation started, I was like, man, it'd be funny if these movies were related because their titles are...
Well, they're in the same style.
Uh-huh.
And basically, the whole thing takes place. You are essentially seeing a computer screen the whole time.
Okay.
So this in the first movie, which is Searching, John Cho plays the main character, and he is a single dad who had recently lost his wife to cancer, and so he's raising his daughter and everything else. Well, she goes missing, which is not the title of this movie.
I thought you were going to say she goes searching.
She goes searching. he goes searching for her, but he's using all you see him get on FaceTime, and it's a really creative format, and I really dig it. And then the second movie is not a sequel, it's just another movie by the same director done in the same style. But it's a totally different story. There are a few little Easter eggs here and there from the first movie, which are neat to see. But there's a really terrible garbage ripoff of this format of movie on Amazon Prime right now. If you're in the mood for something really awful, called Deadware. It's the same style. It's really dumb, and I would love for someone to watch it, laugh about it, and then hit me up on the Discord about it. But the reason I brought those other two movies up is because there was another movie that came out recently called Run, and it's by the same director, but it's not done in the same format. And it has the woman that her name eludes me. She's in like every season of American Horror Story.
Sarah Paulson.
Sarah Paulson, thank you. Mm-hmm. She's in it, and this newcomer, real good actress in this one that plays her daughter. And basically, the premise of the movie is that the first thing you see is a very premature baby being born, and Sarah Paulson is the mother, and the baby's very sick and very sickly. And then they list all these different like diseases on the screen and show all what that means, and then flash forward to her being old enough to be getting ready to go to college. And her mom, and she's in a wheelchair, and her mom, Sarah Paulson, had been taking care of her whole life. But there are a couple of really interesting twists that come about. And see, it wasn't just me. The air conditioner stopped.
The air went off. Update.
So anyway, I do highly recommend this one because it's got a really fun plot, and I wouldn't exactly call it fresh, but it's a very good suspenseful movie that I do recommend. The other thing I was just going to briefly mention, I'm not going to get into it too much. I got one more thing after that I really want to talk about for a minute. But the last thing I watched in the last couple of weeks, John Wick 4. Love it. Can't get enough John Wick. So if you haven't seen John Wick 4, if you have the opportunity, I highly recommend it.
I'm just ready for Constantine 2.
Me too.
Yeah, I can't wait for that to actually happen.
Yeah, Constantine was an awesome film. I was super pumped to hear that they were doing a sequel. So the last thing I wanted to talk about on my watch list, and this was going to take a little longer than usual, because I had recommended to me an anime that is from the early 2000s, like 2001, called Ghost Stories. Are you guys familiar with Ghost Stories?
Of course you need to watch the dub. Yes,
of course.
Yes, I'm familiar with Ghost Stories, yeah.
Oh,
I am not yet.
Oh my God.
Do you know the story behind it?
I do, and I wanted to talk about the story behind it.
It's really interesting.
So Ghost Stories is just your sort of cookie cutter anime about some kids that deal with ghosts that show up at their school. And
Okay. Like you do.
And apparently when the show was first released in Japan, I've got 10 fun facts about this show.
Okay.
And apparently when this show was released in Japan, it flopped. It flopped hard. It was a very big disappointment. They didn't get anywhere with it. It was done by a company called Animax, not to be confused with Aniplex. And so it failed in Japan, but it has managed to become a cult classic in the West. And it's, according to this list I've got, it's very unusual that due to its abysmal numbers in Japan, it's like kind of a miracle that this one ever even got a dub to begin with.
Yeah.
And so it was almost like a throwaway, and Animax didn't give a shit. So they gave up complete creative control to ADV Films, which is a studio that dubs stuff like Neon Genesis Evangelion and Elfen Lied, although I don't know that one.
That's another old one.
Okay. So they gave it over to ADV to dub it, and they didn't care what they did, and they placed almost no restrictions on what they were allowed to do with the dub, except for 2 guidelines. The names of the characters had to remain the same, and the manner in which the ghosts are defeated should not be tampered with. Aside from that, everything else was fair game. So they took it, and Animax was so desperate to make something out of this because it failed so badly. They basically pleaded with ADV to take it on. Please do something with this. Turn it into something entertaining in the West. So they did, and they brought in the guy that directed the dub. His name is Stephen Foster, and he basically took it over and wrote this whole thing that was sort of like a guideline to what he wanted to do, but not necessarily a script. And so they bring in the first voice actor they brought in. This apparently was the first kind of tongue-in-cheek sort of Western dub version of an anime, like some that really kind of caught on. And they brought in the actor, and he started ad-libbing and making all these just random, like, topical jokes and references. And the cast that joined him jumped in and went with it. They just ran with it. So basically, the entire script of all
Whose
20
Line, the anime.
it's almost like Whose Line meets
South Park.
MST 3K
Okay.
meets South Park meets anime. Yeah, and it was almost all of it is ad lib. Almost every bit of it is ad lib.
It's bizarre.
It's really
funny.
fucking bizarre,
But
but
it's
it is
bizarre.
hilarious. I have laughed out loud more this week watching this show than I have in a long time. And at first, it was kind of one of those things where audiences didn't like the dub because I don't think anyone was ready for it. I don't think anyone expected this to happen, but it eventually just become this cult classic. It is loaded with especially turn of the century, early 2000s references and stuff. And it's funny because the girl I work with that recommended I watch it is 23. So I can't even imagine that she even gets most of the references that they make in the show. But it is absolutely worth a watch. If you don't watch the whole thing, just give a few episodes a shot and just laugh at some of the... As the series goes on, you can tell the actors become more comfortable in their roles with these ad-libbing things, and it just gets funnier and funnier. And
I'll be honest, it sounds right up my alley right now anyway.
Yeah.
I think you'd like it.
It's I like the stories. I think the concept is pretty cool. I'm not really sure why it didn't do well in Japan when it was first released, but in any case, give it a watch, have a laugh, and I'm just really grateful to my friend who recommended this because it would have gone completely out under my radar. I would never have gotten it, and it's been just hilarious and really great to hear the fucking just funniest jokes and knowing that they're ad-libbing everything makes it that much better to me. So, Ghost Stories. Wiz and Sage says, check it out. 4 stars.
I support this. I support this recommendation.
That's all I've got, fellas.
Dave, what about you?
Well, we're recording this after Memorial Day weekend. By the time it comes out, that'll be, long gone. But I had some family come in, which was nice, and I got to hang out with them and play lots of cornhole and no croquet this time. But we did.
My wife was watching Heathers when I left the house.
Oh, really?
Today, yeah.
Just
Apropos
of nothing.
Nothing. I mentioned that this happened to come up last week or whatever.
You weren't kidding. It's constantly on in your house.
At some point, it's a fair bet that Heathers will be on at my house.
And Taryn had just commented, "Man, I'm going to watch Jawbreaker now."
Yeah, I saw that on
Yeah.
Discord. Was she watching Heathers at 9/11 by any chance?
No, it was before I came in. I'm kind of glad though. Now, if she pauses it and then somehow manages to fall asleep,
And it's still
and
on.
it's still on,
There's no way we'll be home by 9/11.
No, I will never know. That's how I was going to finish that sentence.
So I went to, aside from all that, I went to a local staple that I've always heard of, but have never been to. I'm sure you both are very familiar with it. Maggie's Jungle Golf.
Yes.
Yeah,
I have been one time.
Yeah.
I have also only been once, but I'm
Me
very
too.
familiar.
Hey, we've all been there one time.
Melissa used to fucking live there. She loves it. The
Yeah.
kids love it.
Yeah. You don't love it?
I thought it was okay.
Okay.
It depends on the weather. It
Yeah.
depends on the weather. If it's like hot and nasty and gross outside,
Yeah.
I don't like going to Maggie's Jungle
Sure.
because no one wants to be outside
Period.
standing still and putting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But over Memorial Day weekend, I could see how that would be a very pleasant experience because we had beautiful weather.
Yeah, it was great. It was the main thing I was impressed by was 2 things. The fact that it's so shaded. I've never been to like an outside mini golf like putt place that has like been completely shaded because it's like they made a jungle but out of like trees you find in Kentucky. I mean, you know what I mean? Because it's like there's a canopy, right?
Kentunkle?
I don't know how many liters of rain does it get every year. It might be a rain forest. And then it's got a giant gorilla.
Yep.
Where you hit the golf ball in this tiny little.
You have to
opening
hit it
at
into
its
his
feet.
butthole.
I wish. I could not see that flying at a place like Maggie's Jungle Golf, where I heard scripture being read from The Office while we're playing golf.
Yeah, it's a very, very Christian organization.
Super, yeah, absolutely. And it's like,
They're like Pizza Inn levels of Christian.
yeah.
That's probably why
yeah.
it's been in Marshall County for like 30 years.
Right.
Sure,
now.
sure. On hole 2, I was like, my brain was like, yo, dog, what radio station is this? And I'm like, I don't think I've ever heard this before, but it's like churchy AF. My dad made the gorilla roar.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. On the second shot.
Okay.
So he didn't get a free game. Not that they would know.
Yeah. I made it in one.
Yeah, I got 5 people vouching for me.
Here's your
You
free
did.
game. Go on. I'm
Christian
listening. I'm
area,
listening to my
we
church.
We believe you.
It's a sin
Right.
to lie. God's watching you, did you? Yeah. Okay. No one wants to go to hell, so we believe you.
Then I definitely won't be masturbating later. Ooh, 2 free games for you, young man.
Certainly not to this gorilla.
I'm not going to be trying to make my wife make that same noise.
So yeah, it was all right. Yeah, it was good. It's not like,
I mean, it's mini golf. It's not
mini
going to be
golf.
exciting, but it's
Yeah.
not like Billy Madison level
yeah,
exciting or Happy Gilmore level.
but I'm just happy to have been there finally.
Yeah.
I can now relate with pretty much everybody. And then Catch Penny Mitch, I think it was him. had mentioned in Discord this Starship Troopers game. And
I would like to know more.
would you like to know more? I was like, you know what? I had a long weekend of just like, because it was back-to-back activities. It wasn't like, strenuous or anything. It was just, there's something to do every day.
Yeah.
And, arrangements have to be made and, all that. And it's like, but Monday was like, all right.
Your day of rest.
Day of rest. Gorilla Day. And I was like, man, fucking, I'm going to get this Starship Troopers game. It's like $30 on Steam. If it's horrible, then I watched a trailer. I was like,
turn it back in. Steam's pretty cool with
that is true. Steam is pretty cool. I've done that once before. I'm trying to remember the game that I did it for. Oh, actually, it was just because it was Shredder's Revenge. It was the Turtles game because for whatever reason it wouldn't run, and I sent Steam a message. I was like, "Look, I could troubleshoot this and fix it, or I could literally just buy it on Xbox right now. So I'm going to do that." And they were like, all right.
Yeah, we would too. We get it. There you go.
So I was like, all right, thanks. That was cool.
They make so much money hand over fist on this stuff anyway. So it's like, yeah, we're not really missing out.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So they were very cool about that.
Let's look at your Steam library. Okay, yeah, you're fine.
Right. Yeah. Oh, boy.
You're in this forever.
We see that you have 700 games, of which you've played 6. Yeah,
Right.
you're good.
We call you a lifer.
We call you the summer sale guy.
Sir, have you heard the term whale before?
Yeah.
How about pay pig?
You mean like in the story of Jonah?
I've never heard pay pig
I
before.
think you have. I don't buy it. Starship Troopers, it's the full title of the game, which I will always refer to it as the Starship Troopers game, is Starship Troopers Extermination. And you play as the Federation. You go to a planet, and you've got a mission on that planet, which is usually gather resources to build a base, build the base, and then waves of bugs come.
Is it a dirty planet? A bug planet?
Yeah, it's definitely.
I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah, please, God, please. It's class based, so you've got you have assault troopers with jetpacks. You have heavy troopers that have like mobile shields that they can set down, and then you have a support unit. I can't remember what the support unit is called, but they can essentially heal and revive dead teammates.
Do you have anything in orbit, like for airstrikes and stuff, or is it all ground based?
It's all ground based, but it's an early access. So this is like, and it just came out in early access. So they're talking about all the stuff that they're going to add, but I haven't really honestly been watching it that closely because I've just been enjoying the game for what it is. So what's fun about it is it is huge. Like the number of players, there are like, I think 5 squads that have, I believe 4 members per squad. So it's like a 20 versus PvE kind of deal. And there's chat in the game, and I will say that, wow, I was taken aback by how and this might be because it's just brand new, and it's just some people checking out a new game on a property that they like, but that community was zero toxicity. I'm sure that'll change. I'm sure that'll change. Give it enough time, right? But it was wow. And I don't know if it's because it's PvE. I don't know if it's because it's just a bunch of Starship Trooper fans having fun.
I think it's a group of people just doing their part to become citizens.
Yes!
Well done. Well played. I think you're right. But yeah, it was great. Everybody on there was nice. And no one's yelling at each other. Even
the only good bug is a dead bug.
That's right.
I would say shit like that if I was on there.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, I played it for probably 2 hours. A mission takes about 30 minutes. I will say that I think it's a little too easy. That might be why everybody was so chill as well. I mean, it got hairy, but like we never like I didn't lose a mission. And so I probably played 4 missions, but there are different difficulties. I started out on rookie because it's like whatever. I got to learn this game right before we dive in. Couldn't decide whether I want to say jump or dive. And then after that, after like 2 missions on rookie, I jumped into medium. And the hardest part is once you defend the core, the drop ship shows up. And you got to get to the drop ship. And that's when they really turn on the heat. Like there's lots of bugs and there's lots of variety of bugs. There's tigers are in it. The bombardiers are in it.
The ones that shit out like
big beetles that shit out the blue plasma.
The bug howitzers.
Yes. And it's a lot of fun because like there is so like we're defending this base after we build it. That part feels very much like original Fortnite felt. I don't know if you ever played original Fortnite, but like that was kind of the idea where it's like you go get resources, you build a fort from those resources, and then waves of enemies come and you set up traps and stuff. And they've got this in the Starship Troopers game too, where you can have like electricity mines and you can have like detonators and remote detonators and stuff like that.
Damn.
And there's progression for each class. So like as you complete more missions, you earn experience points, which unlocks like different guns and abilities specific to that class.
Sweet.
It's really cool. And
Is this only on PC right now?
Right now it's only on PC. I did check the notes because it was one of those things when I was playing it, I was like, do they have plans to release this on console? Because this might be a thing that Henry would be into. Like he and I could play together. Because it's really like I like these co-op games, and that's straight up what it is. And they said that right now they're really they want to get it right on PC.
Right.
So I think they said, of course we'd love for it to be on console, but the focus is PC.
Okay.
But the drop ship, that's when the shit hits the fan because you get the go ahead. You're like, leave, get out. And up till that point, you can be revived and you can respawn. But once the drop ship shows up, that is off the table. So it's just, so then it's just a matter of whoever gets there.
That's stressful as hell. I love it.
And getting there is fun because if you get there, I mean, the bugs, they're just swarming and it's just you and like whoever survived just on top of the drop ship, just mowing these fuckers down. Because by that point, you've like maybe have a few guys with rocket launchers and like, because you can like pick up stuff. And it's fun. I would say check it out. I don't know if it's worth $30 for everybody, but even I don't know. Honestly, I'm pretty easy with this kind of stuff. Even if I never play it again, I feel like I got $30 worth out of 2 hours.
Sure.
So yeah, that's
now,
my 2 cents.
Can you party up, or do you have to get just randomly assigned?
You can party up. Yeah,
Okay.
You can party up, and then at the end they rank the squads, which is kind of fun. I don't know if you get an experience bonus if your squad's ranked higher or whatever, but they base it on a bunch of different things like number of kills, number of deaths, number of people revived, number of heals, like that. So it's like it's not really on a. They do it on an individual basis as well, but it's nice that they also lump it together for the squad, and that's the thing that matters the most.
Now, is this an FPS or is it like a 3/4 view Diablo style?
Great question. I should have mentioned this. It's a first-person shooter. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they got my attention. I'd let it get a first-person shooter in a minute.
I would recommend it. I think especially with it being PvE, and it's like, go ahead, Brooks.
Well, and also with it being early access for $30, probably when the full game actually comes out, that could potentially be a $60 game.
Yeah, it could be.
I mean, because that's kind of what happened with the Baldur's Gate 3. I bought that in early access, and it was like $50, and now it's like, I think it releases at like 70.
Damn. games are expensive.
Yeah, but that also it upgraded me to like one of the higher tiers just because I pre-purchased and had early access.
Got in early. Yeah, that's nice. Hopefully there'll be, yeah. I mean, even if there are no perks for me with this game, like I said, it's one of those where it's like, okay, that was worth it. I'll try installing it on the Steam Deck to see how it does.
That might be interesting.
But
And you can check back with it every once in a while because it is early access.
Right.
So more stuff's going to come out with it theoretically if it sells really well.
yes, true. And I hope they develop it as well as like the Phasmophobia team has like developed that game
That
over
was
time.
yeah.
Because holy shit, like that game has like, boy, they have put some resources into that. So
Well, and yeah, I had played it a year apart about a couple of years ago, and then kind of got back into it with the during COVID, and it was like almost a completely different game.
right? Yeah, Nate and I did the same thing, Gamebug Prime Nate, and it was wild going back to it because it was like, what are we doing? It's like everything is nice and different, and so hopefully they'll add different missions and stuff like that. So
Cool.
Different landscapes and stuff like that.
yeah, they've got a night mission which is a lot of fun. Like the night mission is rad because it's like
But it's so fucking scary.
you know what, man? It really wasn't. And it wasn't because I'm telling you, these guys, like the people that I was playing with, I mean, it was like people are saying, don't worry, I got your back. I mean, it's stuff like that. I mean, it's like straight up just like people covering each other. No one's out there being a hero. It's just we're
So they're acting like the actual fucking mobile infantry.
yes. Yeah, we're all LARPing.
I love it.
It's Starship Troopers.
I love it.
That sounds like a fun community right there.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't change because like wow, it was great. It really was. I got done and I told Nikki, I was like, I have never played an online game and come away being like, wow, those
What a
are
good
like
experience.
those were
Yeah.
good people. And like we're on the drop ship and like everybody's like, good job, guys, good job. And then it's like
What?
you got guys on like on the radio, like got 30 seconds, get to the drop ship, I mean, like really just like looking out for everybody. And
That would be a really good use of AI to just have like a bunch of really positive support
Bots.
AI bots in games.
you're not wrong.
No, you're absolutely
Keep
right.
things from being shitty and toxic. You just got very positive, supporting,
Totally.
helpful
Every once in a
players.
while pops in, hey guys, let's work together on this.
Right. Yeah.
If
Even
they
in-
had the new Starbucks Frappuccino,
this mission brought to you by da 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 da.
Man, I thought I was loving this.
For a second there, I did. I thought it was. But yeah, man, like even like in Final Fantasy 14, which I feel like is a pretty positive game, like has a pretty positive community compared to a lot of other games that I played, especially MMOs.
Right.
It's still like pales in comparison to this. Granted, it was just a single day that I played it. I don't know. Maybe it was just a
good day. to
Maybe it was just a
fucking
great
play
day.
it,
But
yeah.
man, if it was, then
Okay.
I'm glad I got in on that day.
Well, I'm still in the process of trying to get my PC put together. I just haven't had time, but maybe I'll throw it on there and give it a shot.
I would love to play with you. Yeah.
It'd be fun because I will straight up start quoting Starship Troopers. They'll kick me out because like we don't do that here. We don't.
No.
We don't do that here.
No, I don't know. I heard some quotes. It wasn't like a whole
Good.
bunch, but I heard some quotes. And it's like the building part of it's really fun too, because like even if you don't know what you're doing, like me, people are saying what they're doing. They're like, I'm double stacking walls, and like what'll happen is someone will place the item, right? They'll pull out their tool to build. And when they mark where they're going to build, anyone can jump in and help build it, like to increase
okay.
the speed
Right.
of it being built. So that's great because what it means is you have a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing. It's fine. They still are helping and feel like they're helping. You know what I mean? Because me, I was like, I'm not going to build shit. Someone's going to place something and I'm just going to help them build it.
So
it's like an
and
Amish
it's not-
barn raising.
not-
Everybody just rushes together.
Right. The Amish versus the bugs.
poor bugs.
What were you saying, Brooks?
I was like, yeah, I mean, don't feel like you are helping. You actually are helping because it does speed up the building process.
Yeah, and it's nice because it's like that was a really smart design decision.
Sure.
Instead of having a bunch of people standing around
waiting
with nothing to do,
yeah.
feeling anxious
brilliant.
and maybe venting that. Everyone has a job to do, and you have to do it quickly. So
Right.
because
Time
the
is
swarm,
definitely of
yeah.
the
If you don't build that shit fast, the swarms.
We're working
get
great
you.
together, guys. I wonder what's going to be ready, this wall or my Papa John's Papadilla.
I'm sorry, is that Shaq? Did Shaq just talk to me in this video game?
Dave, when you talking about this made me
There are
think.
more bugs here than on pepperonis on my shakaroni pepperoni pizza.
The description you're giving of the game makes me think of Starship Troopers 2. Have you ever seen it?
No, I haven't.
It's more of a horror movie than the first one.
Oh, okay.
And it basically takes place in an encampment on a bug planet, and they have to fight off the bug, and they're waiting for the dropship to come get them, and they're like trapped in this thing, and they can't get out, and but it's not a good movie, unfortunately. I think it was
Bummer.
It's either 2 or 3. I know Casper Van Dien comes back
Really?
for 3, but I don't think he was in 2. But
For 3?
he comes back in number 3, but he's not in number 2.
How did I not know there were at least two? I'm waiting for you to be like, and then in 5.
Nah, it stopped at 3.
I thought there was a CGI one after that.
Now that you mention it, yeah, I think you're right. I think there was. But in any case, the Starship Troopers 2 wasn't great because I think it wasn't like the first one in the sense of it didn't have that same campy feel to it.
Yeah.
But it was good in the sense that it was kind of a really tense horror movie. But they had to reinforce the walls and fight off the bugs and wait for. I mean, it sounds like the game is actually based
on that one.
Starship Troopers 2.
I'll check it out. Yeah. I didn't know it existed.
But yeah, that's neat.
The first movie's
Sounds
brilliant. Like the first
God,
movie's
it is.
brilliant in the way that Predator is brilliant.
Yep.
Like where it's like so many different audiences can take this movie so many different ways that it's gonna be. It's one of those.
Well, and not to get off on the Starship Troopers thing, but I will say, I read the book. The book sucks. The book is boring, and it's nothing at all like the movie. They kind of go into little descriptions about like the war with the bugs and shit. And I think that's where, when they did the movie, they just grabbed onto that and said, we're going to make a movie about this part. The book, I couldn't even finish the book. It was so dull. So that's one of the rare cases where the book wasn't as good as the movie. And yeah, you're right. So many different people could enjoy it for different reasons.
Lots of different takes, like an onion, layers like an onion.
Like an onion.
What about you, Brooks? What you been up to?
Well, I mean, aside from my family being sick several times.
Several times.
Yeah. So let's see. The first weekend we tried to record, my family was sick. The second weekend where we tried to do this again, and Tyler said, "No, we're not. Can we push back?" And I was like, "Okay." It was fine because then my wife was sick again with something else.
Oh, God.
And my 2 teenagers were down too. So it was like, yeah, all right. Well, so that's not happening.
So did
that
everybody?
works
Is
out.
everybody okay now?
Yeah, my wife did have gallbladder surgery yesterday.
Oh,
Yikes.
But it was just a laparoscopic. So I mean, she's feeling a lot better today. Moved
Good.
around and
Don't let her sneeze.
She got well rested. Yeah, she hasn't sneezed. She's pretty much stayed in our bedroom. Well, no, she was up and about today. One of the disadvantages of having a child that is old enough to drive is that he can take her places. So when she's supposed to stay in bed, she doesn't. So yeah, so she's been all over the place. But I did get like about $600 worth of tools for $225. So
hell yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
there's that.
That's nice.
So yeah, and then on top of that, I am playing Destiny 2 almost constantly and waiting for Diablo 4.
Oh man, yeah.
Me
Diablo 4.
and Dave have been talking a lot about Diablo 4.
I was in the 2 betas.
Yeah.
And I had so much fun with that game.
Yeah. I did too.
So,
what did you what classes did you play as? You probably did multiple, I guess.
I did play through all of them a little bit, but the ones I got the furthest with was the Barbarian and the Rogue. So, and I thoroughly enjoyed the way the Barbarian played.
Barbarians, that's always, I feel like, a safe bet. I love how Barbarian played in 2 and in 3.
Yeah. 4 was a lot different because you had weapon options. So you had like 3 different style of weapon options, really.
That's
so
rad.
Because you had dual wielding weapons, one heavy bludgeoning weapon and one heavy slashing weapon.
Cool.
And you just have those. So they're in your inventory, ready to be used. You just got to swap out your skills for whatever you're wanting to use. I thought that was some unique play style.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Diablo before.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I love that. That is really cool. That like almost kind of goes back to like Diablo 1 in a way, you know?
Yeah.
And that's appealing to me. Maybe I'll try Barbarian out when I get back into it.
Yeah, I definitely give that one. Each class, it doesn't feel like, it feels like each class has its own like quirks within their skill set. So, which is very nice because they kind of brought back, I don't want to say skill trees, but skill branches maybe.
Right. Yeah. I liked how they handled that too, where it's like when you respec, you don't have to respec the entire tree. You can, respec just like a certain cluster.
Right. And just it's kind of a blend between 2 and 3.
Yeah.
In the way you can build craft a little bit. So I kind of enjoyed that.
I only played one of the betas because I was concerned about playing it a second time and then being like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to want to do it a third time, when the game actually comes out. But I was listening to the Jeff Gersman podcast, and like he like put his finger on how I felt about it, and I didn't even realize it, and that is that Diablo 4 is a lot more active of a game than like Diablo 3 was. Like even with manually taking potions as opposed to like them auto healing you like on pickup and stuff like that. And I like that. When he said that, I was like, oh yeah, you're right. I did feel like more engaged in Diablo 4 than I did in Diablo 3.
It felt like there was more at risk, like whenever you decided to go attack something.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Especially when it's like a big fucker.
Yeah. And especially, I liked the dungeon setups. Those were nice. The world felt open. Some areas were a little bit more populated than others with monsters and stuff, but it didn't feel terrible about that. I mean, sometimes you just want to catch a little bit of a breather. But the atmosphere of the game felt wonderful.
Yeah.
So remind me, I played a little bit of Diablo 3 with friends, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't really get it because I wasn't into Diablo 1 or 2. And I mean, I picked up on the game and I understood, what was going on for the most part. But is this one like a roguelike kind of thing? Or is it like more of an Ultima style where you're out just fighting monsters and then you dungeon crawl and things like that? I know it's not, I'm not saying it's like Ultima. I just mean, is that how the sort of format?
You can play it as a roguelike if you want. You can play it as very much a roguelike if you play in hardcore mode, which is you can play with that character until they die, and when they die,
you got to roll another
they're
one.
dead.
Okay.
Yeah, but go ahead, Brooks.
Which, did you see that Blizzard is going to have a statue put up for the first 1,000 people?
No, I didn't see that.
Max level for hardcore.
On hardcore.
Ooh, that's neat.
That is cool.
I'm kind of sold. I've been really giving it some thought, and I think I'm gonna buy Diablo 4 and play.
I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it after I've got a work trip coming up, and it's like, man, every fucking time I feel like a game that I really want to play comes out like during the week of a work trip, and it's like, why the fuck does this always happen?
Yeah, mine. So yeah, I'm taking my CISSP certified information. Wait a minute. Yeah, certified information security system security professional test next Friday. So that's a $700 test that I've already taken 3 other times.
Oof.
Ooh. So when you
I'm
pass it, you'll celebrate by buying Diablo 4.
That's exactly what I told my wife. Yeah, I'm buying Diablo 4 on my PS5, which, by the way, it has cross-play and cross-save.
Oh, I didn't know I had a cross save.
Oh,
that's
that's neat.
great.
I found that out on the second beta.
That's awesome.
So you can pick it up on another
cross-play. So and cross-save, because I was like, my son was playing it on the PS5, my oldest, and I was like, you know what? I'll go in there, play some couch co-op with him. So we was like, let's roll some new characters just to kind of get a new feel for it. And I log in with my account, and there's my characters from my PC. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's great.
I was like, that's friggin' awesome right there. I was like, I almost buy this twice just for that. But I think I'm going to buy it on PS5 first and play through it with my son.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And
So
I love that they have. I think I haven't played all of them on consoles, but like I've heard that they are wonderful to play on consoles with a controller.
yes, Diablo 3 was definitely just about, I think, almost more fun to play on console.
Yeah.
And then Sean from Experience Grind, he actually has played Diablo 2 Resurrected on his Steam Deck, and he says it plays wonderfully there.
Awesome. Yeah, that's nice. That's good to hear. Cool.
So, but playing it on PS5, the beta, it was great. Felt good.
Awesome.
Cool.
So,
Tyler,
but
what have you been up to, my man?
I worked Memorial Day, so yeah, so nothing. You guys will do a draft?
Yeah.
We can do a draft.
sure.
We recorded
I'm
we recorded
relatively
something.
new to this draft thing, but
Yeah.
I'm down for it.
Oh, it's easy.
Well, I don't think we know enough about wrestlers to do wrestlers. Except
That's
for,
fine. I'm well versed in other things as well.
Okay, I was
I'm
about
not
to say
just a
Brooks would be the
wrestling
only
nerd.
one who could really name 20 wrestlers.
5 best wrestlers of all time. Brooks, and Brooks.
Leva.
Yeah, you gotta toss Leva in there.
It doesn't work that way for me. Someone else can have 5 Levas.
We could just go with athletes,
Sure.
overall athletes from any sport
Okay.
at any time period.
Sure.
All right. Anybody need notebook or notepad?
No,
Hey,
I have the only
freestyle.
note card that I ever need, which is Ian drew pubic hair on this one.
Very
If
nice.
you could sign it, that would be great.
Here, hand it over.
All right. I might actually put it in a little frame next to my front tail Garfield. That Tony sent. All right. Nice.
Sweet.
If you use that signature to write a check, it will bounce.
I was about to say a bad check.
Yeah, it will bounce.
We'll pretend Brooks is to my left, so he'll be number 1, Dave 2, Ian 3, me 4.
Man, I can't tell you the last time I wrote a check.
Me neither. Well, I can actually. I had to have some work done on my heater last winter. The element went out, or the fan that blows the air into the house for the heat side went out, and they came and fixed it. And then they were like, here's the bill, just come by and you can pay it anytime, or you can mail us a check. I'm like, well, I'll just swing by and pay it. And they're like, you still need to write us a check. And I'm like, what if I bring cash? No, we only take checks.
What the hell?
That's what.
And I was like, you
We're
mean
hipsters. We only take checks.
I
A
can't
check
use
can
my
bounce.
debit
Cash
card,
cannot.
or I can't pay with my credit or debit. No, unless, well, we do take credit cards, but we charge like a 25% fee. I'm like, fuck it, I'll write you a check. So I fucking had to find my checks.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where I have my checks.
I am damaging the environment more writing you this check.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to go
Then
to
you
the
are
bank and be
swiping
like,
this
Nikki,
card.
could you give me a check for this amount? Well, I rolled a 2, so we start with Dave. Dave, Ian, me, Brooks.
I'll go Shaq.
Shaq, it's a good one.
Shaq, Papa John's very own. Ian turned me on to the Shaquille O'Neal pizza, which I enjoy very much.
Is it just big and lots of pepperoni?
Mm-hmm.
So it's good. It's good. Ian,
My first pick is L.A. Lakers, fast play makers, kings of the court, shake and bake, all takers, back to back. It's a badass fact, a claim that remains intact. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
I say you. It's like I don't know. Will I get this at some point? No. But Kareem, before my time, I have to take Jordan.
Jordan.
Gotta be like Mike.
I will take a hometown Indiana boy, Larry Bird.
Oh,
There
see,
it is.
Bird was
Bird.
going to be my number
Bird
2.
was going to be on my list somewhere.
I got hung up watching just some old videos or some videos of interviews with people that have played against him.
That dude was a
And
fucking
he was a menace.
machine. Yeah, he was ridiculous.
Hick from French Lick. Dave, number 2.
Yeah.
I'll go with Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain
Still.
because of the numbers on the board.
But I say it's like 25,000, something like that.
I think he's claimed 1,000. I don't know about 25,000.
It's something
I think
like
it was there was a
ludicrous.
toss up for the longest time between him and Lemmy Kilmister.
Okay.
But I think Lemmy took the crown on that one.
That doesn't
Not sure
surprise
how.
me. I would put my money on Lemmy.
20,000 women in his lifetime.
Damn.
That is a lot.
That would be 2.3 girls a day.
So probably bullshit.
I don't know.
You never know.
There's only so many hours in the day, so
You could have a
Is that- are you-
6 girl orgy to take a 3-day
Is that on a
rest.
24-hour period? Like, are you including rest?
I think that's just what the math says just per day. It would have been 2.3 averaged out from when he claims the first one was.
I don't buy it. I'm sure the number's up there, but that's a lot of fucking like. What do you have? You don't have time to
of
do anything
different
else.
women. Of
Different women, right? We're not talking about number of times.
Yeah, different women.
Damn.
He never
You
said he
have to have
came
them lining up
20,000
out the
times. He
door.
just dipped it in and ran. So,
Maybe, but if you come, it doesn't count. We all know that. Come on.
Ian, number 2.
The great Terry Bradshaw.
I knew that had to be coming.
He's just that good.
My number 2 has to be the all-star of the bowl game, the football game.
Tecmo Bowl.
Tecmo Bowl. Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson, BoJack Horseman.
Bo knows.
Brooks.
Let's see. Me, I'm a long time Cowboys fan, so I will have to go with Emmitt Smith.
I know who that is from all the various cowboy T-shirts everyone wore in elementary school.
Yeah, I mean, you and I were in school about roughly the same time, so I mean, I grew up in my heydays were in like the 95. I was watching 90 in the 90s watching Dallas win all those Super Bowls. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been a fan ever since, unfortunately.
Yeah, here that for the 90s, it wasn't such a good thing anymore.
Yeah. So, but still my team.
I appreciate your faith. Dave, number
Most
3.
do.
I'll go with the performer of the Chaos Dunk himself, Charles Barkley.
It's good.
Spitter on Kidser. Charles Barkley.
What's
It
his
was
name?
terrible.
The brown mound of rebound. Is that his?
I do like a brown mound.
You and Will.
2.3, baby.
Yeah.
We gotta get those numbers up, man.
Way up.
Remember, it doesn't count unless you come. That was like Wilt's guardian angel. That's like stuff that he would say, like over his shoulder. Doesn't count unless you come, Wilt. Remember?
There's a picture of him and Andre the Giant holding up Arnold
Schwarzenegger. Yeah, I just saw that recently. I feel like that's been making the rounds. Yeah, I love that photo. And it's 100% why I chose Wilt Chamberlain was because I saw that recently.
Yeah, there was the photo I just saw recently again on Reddit. It's Wilt Chamberlain, Andre the Giant, and Arnold. And Arnold is the little tiny one.
They were all three in Conan the Destroyer.
Yes. Such a good movie. My turn?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
8-time Pro Bowler, an all-around greatest strong safety to ever play the game as far as I'm concerned. Troy Polamalu of the Pittsburgh Steelers. What a guy. I don't expect you to know
First
what I'm
name
talking
that's been
about.
mentioned that I don't recognize.
I also do not know that one.
I do know that one.
I thought you were going to say Sterling
I watch
Steele.
football.
He was the man. He
Dude was a menace on defense.
He could get it fucking done. And I mean, if the ball got to him, like if they fumbled or, he picked up a interception or something, dude was gone. They weren't getting him. They weren't catching him. He was gone. And he could
Peyton Manning, he was saying that he would kind of call plays around what he thought Polamalu was doing.
Yeah, for a fact. Because if you were the other team and Troy was out on the field, you did not want him to get that ball. Because he was the guy that was just had the most energy, would just run straight ahead and go right for it. He was so fast. And it was like he was surprisingly fast for being a defensive player. But yeah, the guy was an all-time great. So definitely on my list.
Who was the footballist that got catfished? It's like a Hawaiian player.
Oh,
you remember this?
I remember this. Oh,
he
man.
got scammed out of like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I don't know that
being
one.
Catfished.
Oh, he got drafted. I thought around that same time.
Yeah, because that's where like somebody like catfished him out of all his initial earnings or something.
Dang.
Mentitio?
Yeah.
I don't know if I pronounced that right.
It.
Teo. I had to look it up, obviously. Everybody at the table knows that, but I just wanted to let the listener know that I didn't
let it go. Like,
I didn't just
damn,
pull
Dave.
that off.
Bardic knowledge. My number 3 will round out one of my favorite Saturday morning cartoons as a kid. So Wayne Gretzky.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because that cartoon that starred Jordan, Bo Jackson, and Wayne Gretzky fighting crime together in their own little lair with all their sport technology.
That's crazy. I had not thought about that in a minute.
That's a hard pull. Okay. See, I'm gonna have to go a little bit old school and in baseball. Pete Rose.
Pete Rose.
Controversial.
I also
controversial pick, but also kind of a double for me too, because he also had some good runs in the World Wrestling Federation as well.
Really?
Some guest hosting and stuff.
Wow.
There was the current mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee, Glenn Jacobs, who is Kane from the WWF Flash E.
Yes.
Undertaker's brother.
There was an ongoing feud between him and Pete Rose.
Wow. That's funny. All right.
Started at WrestleMania 14, where Pete Rose was doing the ring announcing duties for Undertaker and Kane match, and Kane tombstones him.
Wow.
Okay.
I vaguely remember that, actually, now that you mention it.
Oh, well, I've got a video to show you guys later that Kane makes a callback to his obsession with Pete Rose.
Huh. Okay.
So, because it ended up being a thing, like every couple of years or so, they'd have him come out and in some way or another try to get one up on Kane. Never worked out.
Dave, number 4.
He was mentioned earlier. No one scooped him up yet, so I go Andre the Giant.
Fair.
Yeah. I mean, largest athlete in the world for the longest time.
Uncle Andore.
Papa Andore even.
Well, and the hilarious thing is like most of the stuff that that I feel like most of you guys had seen was in his later career where he was not as mobile.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like what he couldn't even pick up in Princess Bride, he couldn't pick up Robin Wright. She had to be suspended on ropes in the scene where he catches her at the castle.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because he was suffering from back problems, and that was even prevalent in his famous match with Hulk Hogan.
Oh, yeah, where they just sort of grab each other for 20 minutes.
Yep.
But they made it work.
I heard a story about him, Andre the Giant, wrestling in front of Saddam Hussein. Have you heard this story?
This is a new one for me too.
Oh boy.
Well, then
I feel like I've heard them all.
Well, then maybe I'm wrong. But I heard it today, and I might have misheard it. I'm listening to. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the podcast called Behind the Bastards. They were on my radar, and I heard about them through like the Laser Time Network podcast. And I subscribed, and I had been meaning to check them out. And then we all here at this table had made plans to record an episode on the WWF SNES games. And it just so happens at the time that the Behind the Bastards podcast was in the middle of a 6-episode arc on Vince McMahon.
Oh, I love it.
So I've been listening to that, and it's 6 episodes, so I'm not through it yet. But I mean, it's been great so far. Like Sean Baby's on there, and like as a guest host, and it's been a lot of fun. And they've been telling a lot of stories. And one of the stories I heard of today, and again, if you want that full story, go listen to that episode, their show.
Is this what you posted in our chat in the Discord?
I posted a bunch of shit in the chat on Discord, but not this.
Not this? Okay.
So you guys might be able to help me out. There was a wrestler who wrestled as the Sheik, and they were saying it was
the Iron Sheik.
Not the Iron Sheik.
There's the Sheik.
Okay, him.
Who was the one that originally trained ECW wrestler Sabu.
Okay, that is who it was. Supposedly, the story goes that he had gone to high school or a school at some point with Saddam Hussein. And
Confirmed.
Are you fact checking me?
Yep. Confirmed.
And so Saddam Hussein wanted him to wrestle Andre the Giant in Iraq, and so they arranged it, and they show up. And it turns out that the match was for the army, and they're all there with guns. and Saddam calls the Sheik over and says and pulls him in and says, "It's really important to us that you win." And he opens his coat. And inside his coat, there is a gold pistol. And he says, if he hurts you, we'll take care of him.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Poor Andre.
It's real.
That's the story. So,
wow.
So, yeah. So, Andre, did not do anything.
Andre killed the entire Iraq army.
He was he got a hold of the Venom symbiote. If anybody in the world ever got the Venom symbiote, that would be a good one.
Yeah.
He got put on Juggernaut's helmet and the Venom symbiote and beat the entire Iraq army.
And just hooked Cerebro into his spine.
I smell crossover.
Ian, number 4.
The greatest skateboarder to ever walk the earth, Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk, that's a good one.
Superman.
That's right.
A man who gets confused because people don't know that he's actually Tony Hawk.
Right.
You look a lot like Tony Hawk. He
but
gets
older.
that a lot. But
melted.
old. I remember when we were kids, of course, I was really into skateboarding. That was my life. And we used to rent the old Powell Peralta skate videos that came out. And it was basically just following the kids on the Powell Peralta skate team around Southern California, just skating. They would go down the street and skate and jump shit and skate pools that they broke into and, all this kind of stuff. And it really was sort of the baseline start of skateboard culture as we know it.
Nikki's brothers were really into that too.
Yeah. And we used to watch these videos of Powell Peralta, which was Tony Hawk's first sponsorship. And there's a really, really, really great documentary about Tony Hawk. I think it's on HBO. If you have Max, I think you can watch it there. It's probably still on there is what I'm getting at. Or I can't remember if it's there or Netflix, but look it up. It's a really interesting thing. But we used to watch these videos, and Tony Hawk was like a child when he joined this team. I mean, he was literally like 11. You have these videos of this kid skating around, and the way that he would just fall down and bust his ass and then just get right back up and keep going. The persistence that this kid displayed, and his whole thing of showing up and starting to win like tournaments and starting to beat far more seasoned professionals than himself. And when he starts doing, when he gets up to the point of doing like the 540 or the 1080 or the whatever the fuck it was that he set in a world
900.
A 900. Thank you. He set the world record for doing that, and just his whole life he has just been this fucking unbelievably gifted. He was born for this. There are some people that you see, athletes especially, particularly, that you can see that they were born to do what they do.
Yeah, I'm like Michael, what's his name, the swimmer?
Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps, yeah. Just someone who was just born
to swim. The Simone Biles and Mary Lou Rettens and these just and again, granted, they were obviously hit with a whip to train, But in this case, Tony's whole thing was self-motivated. He was his own. This was his passion, and he still does it. He's older than me, and he still does this, and is just the skill with which he executes his craft is second to none, in my opinion. The guy can just straight up skate, and that's what he was born to do, and it's just apparent that he loves it. And on top of that, on top of everything else, he never got a big head about it. He's just always been a cool, humble dude. He's kind of like the Keanu Reeves of skateboarding. You know what I mean? Just really down to earth and friendly. Everyone that's ever met Tony Hawk has said he was the nicest fucking guy. So hats off to Tony.
Yeah, because I saw a TikTok where he's talking about how no one expected the skateboarding game to be such a big deal. And like Activision, like somebody from Activision approached him like, oh, by the way, here's your royalty check. He like put it in his pocket, not thinking it'd be anything. When he got home, he's like, I guess let's see how much. It's like $3 million. He was expecting like 50.
Pro Skater was a huge deal.
It was.
That was a big deal.
Yes, it was.
Still is. A lot of people, they just re-released it.
Right.
And it wasn't for me. I didn't care much for those games, but Gage was really into them.
I loved them.
He got them again and played them. So
I got into them all the way to Tony Hawk Underground 2.
My number 4, I'm going to follow Dave's lead. My absolute number 1 favorite wrestler of all time, Mick Foley.
How the fuck, dude? You took my number 5. Damn.
Sorry, man.
Go for it, though. Man, tell us about Mick Foley. Mankind.
Always. Like, all the wrestling games we're going to talk about are a little bit before my time, because I only was really into wrestling during the Attitude Era. That was when I enjoyed wrestling the most. And the first, like, huge novel I ever read was Mick Foley's first autobiography, that Have a Nice Day, with the smiley face on the cover. Like, always enjoyed. He's such a very different kind of wrestler than everybody else you see. It pissed me off to no end when I was watching an interview where Hulk Hogan is just talking so much shit about him. Yeah. Just saying, how fat he is and shit like that. And then Mick Foley's just like, he never wrestled me. If he wrestled me, he would probably know, like, I'm surprisingly athletic and I actually do shit. And Hulk Hogan
Ric
just
Flair
likes
was
to
the
look pretty.
same way. for a little bit, and then they
True.
actually wrestled.
Yeah.
And now they both have had the utmost respect for each other afterwards.
Mick Foley, Mankind, Cactus Jack, all
Dude
of his
love.
personas. Just he was an unbelievable wrestler. I mean, that dude would do the craziest shit.
Fuck
I think
yeah.
I may have mentioned at one point on this show one of the best like WrestleManias I ever saw. It was a cage match, and of course, if Mankind is involved or Mick Foley, depending on who he is in this one. If he's involved, they're getting on top of the fucking cage, right?
Yeah, the Hell in a Cell.
Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
And then they get on top of the cage and they're wrestling, and he gets thrown off the fucking thing onto the floor, onto the table. He gets back up. At one point, he like spreads a bunch of thumbtacks all over the fucking mat, and then like slams. He was gonna like body slam someone through the cage and into the thumbtack, and it ended up turning around, and he ended up going into and falling on the thumbtack. I mean, it was nuts. This guy.
Yeah. So the going through the cage on the Hell in a Cell where he wrestled the Undertaker was not planned.
Yeah, that was not a part of the plan. You're right.
So part of it, wrestler Terry Funk was in the ring just checking to make sure that he was still alive.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So, because he was out, and he didn't remember the match, and for the longest time until about last year, I think he had never watched that match back.
I get it, and I had forgotten a lot of those details. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you clarified that, because yes, I had forgotten that whole thing was versus the Undertaker, and that wasn't supposed to happen.
The first one where he gets thrown off onto the table, totally planned.
Yeah, yeah. And that shit
Taker
looks
didn't
like
want
it
to do
hurts.
it. He's like, "Are you sure? Do it. I don't really want to do this.
Yeah.
Just do it."
No, and
Didn't he like do a gravedigger on him and then drop him off the cage into the table or something like that?
He just like grabbed him by the scruff of the neck and the back of the pants and just chucked him. And that's what it was. And Taker's like, I really didn't feel comfortable with that one, but
whatever.
he wanted me to do it.
That's Tyler.
up there.
That's why I had that as my
Yeah,
number
fuck
5.
yeah.
That dude was far and away
Or
one of the
his
greatest.
early stuff as Cactus Jack in Japan.
Yeah.
During like the super like crazy fucking hardcore
Yeah.
shit that like will turn your stomach.
Where he actually did wrestle Terry Funk.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's one the Enslaved Cloud Posse picked that one up and did like their own commentary over that particular match as well. So, but yeah, it was like barbed wire, landmine.
I mean, you see, he's just covered. It's like he's Passion of the Christ. He's just covered in
Yeah.
blood.
And dude could take it. And what's fun fact, Mick Foley, my father-in-law, my wife's mom's husband, it is looks exactly like Mick Foley.
Really?
They are doppelgangers of one another.
Also, like the nicest guy you'll ever meet.
Yeah,
apparently.
super cool. I've heard that same thing.
Also, Indiana native.
Really?
Nice.
Oh.
Yeah, he was actually born in Bloomington, Indiana.
Wow.
Then he moved to like Long Island.
You all produce a bunch of corn-fed super athletes out of there.
Yeah, we do that every once in a while.
Brooks, your number 4.
Number 4, continuing with the wrestling train, but on 2 different levels. I'm going to go with the 1996 gold medalist who won a gold medal in wrestling with a broken freaking neck, Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle.
Who is also quite possibly the best amateur wrestler turned professional wrestler ever.
Oh,
The
yeah.
dude adapted to the ring, to the theatrics so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I've never, the only person I've seen that could even match up to it now would be Brock Lesnar. And he matched up even more in ways because he actually did UFC and was successful in that.
Wow.
And Kurt was such a good heel. Oh, my
Oh,
God.
yeah.
Oh, my
You can't
God. He
help
was such
but
a good
hate him.
heel.
Like he was so good. And there's just like hilarious things too, where him and Steve Austin had good chemistry. Him and Undertaker had good chemistry. He had just about good chemistry with everybody he was in the ring with.
Yeah.
So yeah, but also because I was an amateur wrestler myself as well as professional wrestling, dude was a legitimate shooter.
Oh yeah.
So
Got to get the medals to prove it.
Yeah. So he was awesome.
I always liked Angle.
Yep.
Dave, number 5.
Jesse Owens.
Go pull.
Because fuck Hitler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You heard it here first on TADPOG.
It's an unpopular. It's brave of me to say this, but fuck Hitler.
I've never heard it on Experience Grind. So yeah. Ian, number 5.
Well, this was an alternate for me because I had no clue you were going to take Mankind. But this goes from me not necessarily caring so much about the guy in doing it as the guy himself as to what he's capable of doing his sport, and that would be Michael Phelps. I don't care about Michael Phelps as a person or his depression or his pot smoking or whatever the fuck. I don't care what he does, but watching that motherfucker swim is a treat. He is yet another one of those people that we mentioned was born to do what they do. The guy, I love to watch the Olympics, and when the swimming comes on, we really get into that. And I don't follow it normally, but we really get into the swimming events. And when he was competing, and just it is something else to watch that guy straight fucking dominate.
I am really glad that you didn't say Chris Benoit.
I thought about either Steve Austin or The Rock, but I wanted to kind of not do wrestling right now because we'd already covered so much of it, and we're getting ready to talk about it some more. But yeah, anyway, Michael Phelps.
My number 5 will be my personal favorite basketball player of all time, John Stockton.
Okay.
Love John Stockton just because he's, the short guy, the 3-player, the defensive player. People would talk about how, they're all on the team bus, rallied, and all of a sudden they see John Stockton pull up with 5 kids in a minivan, in his Mormon wear, gets out, suits up, and just beats your fucking ass, and then gets back in his minivan and drives home.
To pray.
Brooks, number 5.
Number 5, we'll go with another combat sport. Mike Tyson.
Oh, damn.
Man,
why did I think about that?
Believe
Shit.
I didn't think of Mike Tyson. That's another example of someone doing what they were born to do.
Aside from, his personal issues.
Right.
Aside, the dude was just dominant.
He was boxing. A beast. He was truly an unbelievable gift.
I don't care how
Unbelievably
old he
gifted
is
boxer.
Now. I've watched some videos of him, touching up and training a little bit more. And it's like, no, there is no amount of money in the world that you could pay me to get in the ring with that man.
No.
How about one punch?
Doesn't he have the record for like the hardest knockout punch?
He
I don't know.
Did for the longest time, I think.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
But how much would it take?
I couldn't do it because I'd have to have lots of protective
in the face
gear on.
No gear in the face.
Not happening.
With a glove, not bare fist.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, if you put a brick in the glove, it's still going to hurt a lot when you get hit
Just
at 100
punch.
miles
Just
an hour.
one punch.
Because that was the story about it in
on The Hangover.
In Rocky 3, where Stallone wanted to know, so he told the actor who plays Ivan Drago.
Oh, in Rocky 4?
Rocky 4.
Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph
Lundgren. To hit him for real. And they'd box for real. And Dolph hit him once in the chest. And he had to be taken to the ICU because it damaged the pericardial sac in his chest.
Wow.
A wound normally.
Lundgren's an actual martial artist.
Yeah,
So.
and he's especially in Rocky 4, he was a beast of a man.
The hospital saw
Yeah.
injuries like that most of the time with car wrecks.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Dolph could straight hurt somebody.
So probably a lot.
And he can educate you while he's doing it. because
Yes.
he's what is he?
I can't remember
chemist?
what. Yeah, he's like a chemist. Yes, it's crazy.
So
Good draft.
yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Any honorable mentions we forgot?
Brian Boitano.
What would
Yeah.
Brian Boitano do?
Yeah.
Loved that. Loved it.
Ozzie Smith,
Mm-hmm.
Barry Bonds.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ken Griffey Jr.
King
Ken
Griffey.
Griffey Jr.
Who's the one from around here?
Not from around here? Walter Payton,
Walter Payton.
one of the greatest players to ever walk the field.
the baseball player. It was good. Played for the Twins.
Steve.
Perry.
Steve Barry.
If you hadn't said Perry, I might have gotten
Steve
there.
Perry.
I can't remember.
We have the internet.
His father was my chemistry teacher.
I sold
Oh God.
I sold one of the old switches to like his granddaughter.
My chemistry teacher's last name was Blackman. Does that help you?
Terry Shumpert.
Well, that's not who I was thinking of. There was another guy that actually went to Tillman who went into the pros for a bit, and his name was like Steve something or other. I can't remember now. But yeah.
We're gonna take a break for a little bit and get back to the game talk.
Sure.
Sure.
All right. Enjoy this probably copyright protected material to transition you into our next segment.
You are the problem, and I am the solution.
And now the game talk.
Game talk, which was so
talk.
the segment was so smoothly transitioned in by our very own Brooks's entrance music for his wrestling career.
Yes. Created by current All Elite Wrestling talent Mikey Ruckus before he got big.
And we haven't yet heard it because as I went to play it, it was going to come through our headphones at full volume, and I thought maybe with better
Deafen
of it.
everybody.
Yeah. So, okay.
That's very cool. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. I always struggle to find good transition material, and this made it easy.
Now,
Well,
intro
it makes
music.
it easy because there's also no copyright because I own it.
Intro music. Are you some kind of wrestler, Brooks?
I did do professional wrestling independently for 10 years.
That is I feel like that's a long time
Yeah.
to be in that game.
It is, especially, when that 10 years pretty well consisted of my late 20s into essentially my late 30s.
Wow.
So I started in late, and then of course, obviously didn't have as long of a career as I could have had if I had started younger, but c'est la vie.
So what were some of the famous wrestlers that you got to meet in person in your journeys?
So I got to meet an older Memphis wrestler, and actually got to wrestle him too. Superstar Bill Dundee.
Okay. I know the name.
He was famous for wrestling a lot with Jerry the King Lawler.
Mm-hmm.
Some other people I've met, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, I shared a locker room with.
I bet Hacksaw Jim Duggan was cool.
He was pretty awesome. There's kind of a stigma and as a wrestler, if you're meeting up with, people that you pretty much grew up watching, that, hey, don't take your picture. Don't be a mark
Right.
with these guys. But I didn't care. First of all, second of all, they don't either typically. So
Really?
yeah, as long as, one of the things I like to do is I like to listen to these guys. I get advice.
Sure.
I listen to their stories. I'm like, dude, listen, I grew up watching you. Can we get a picture? So I can, easily remember this. Like, just like easy, it's a highlight.
Right.
And so, that's what I did. I respected the time that they gave me. And then these guys, one of the things they want to do is they want to pass on what they've learned.
Right. Okay.
So, and that's what I like to do. I like to listen to these guys. Like, some of my favorite podcasts are just straight up like wrestling stories.
Right.
It doesn't even have to be about like, actual match and stuff. It's just like even road stories. Colt Cabana had a podcast where he talked about some road stories. He has a call-in only podcast where people talk about wrestlers that they've met and their wrestling stories. So, and some of the newer wrestlers call into these shows as well. So,
All right.
What got you into it? I mean, if you started at a later age, like, what was your transition point? What was like, I'm gonna do this now?
Basically, so I went about it kind of the wrong way, so to speak. So I had a guy, it was basically backyard for a little bit, but I was into the actual wrestling part of things that I was trying to learn, past what these guys wanted to do.
You mean like the business or like the art?
The psychology and the art of a wrestling match.
Okay.
The art of telling the story in the ring.
Right. Okay.
So I always cared for how I never cared as much about having titles or stuff as long as, and it didn't happen until later on that I got into some actual stories with my matches. And so that was part of what got me into that. I mean, it's a male soap opera.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So, and that was kind of thing. I liked telling a story. Me being one of the bigger guys, I get to work a lot of the smaller guys, so I get to throw them around a little bit. But I was always the bad guy, but I got to make them look, really good, really, believable comebacks and stuff like that.
You were
and
Mick
got
Foley.
put in some interesting matches. Yeah. Oh yeah. Big bully. I was a baby face for like maybe a few matches, not very often.
Do you have a gimmick of any sort?
Or a finishing move?
I've had several finishing moves just due to the fact of people, that had been around longer, me showing up, they had their moves established, so I had to come up with something new occasionally.
Okay.
But I had, I will tell you one cool thing, and since most of you guys are Attitude Era wrestling fans, would know the guy I'm getting ready to talk about. So one of the finishing moves that I took up and was actually pretty good with was basically it was a sit out spine buster.
Okay.
In the WWF, a wrestler by the name of D'Lo Brown used it, called the Sky High.
Yes.
I've also had the privilege of meeting D'Lo Brown.
Nice.
Later on, and I was like, "Hey, listen," I met him. I was going to be wrestling at a show that he was going to be in. So I was like, "Listen, I'm not going to use it tonight because you're here." I was like, "But everywhere else I go, I use the Sky High as my finish, and because my wrestling name was called Fixer, I always called it the F-bomb."
God, I love it.
So yeah, so I told him that. He was like, "Hey, you know what?" I was like, "Hey, if it's all right with you, I would like to continue using that move, but with your permission. And if you want to show me any tricks to it, I'd be more than happy to learn. And he was like, that is quite possibly the most respectful thing I think anybody's ever asked of me. And he was like, tell you what, tomorrow we'll take some time. I'll show you how to do the move. And by God, he did.
That's awesome.
And
That's cool.
He gave me the move, and that it was like highlight of my life. And I've got like a picture of me and him doing the Predator, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
Handshake.
What's the matter?
you know?
I've been pushing too many pencils.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got a picture of him with that. I talked to him for like hours.
Nice.
We bought each other drinks. It was a good time.
We would have also accepted Over the Top as an appropriate reference for that. So
Yeah.
explain your move. Explain the F-bomb. What does that entail?
So typically I like to set it up by grabbing my opponent and whipping him into the ropes.
Okay.
Picking him up with my hands underneath his armpits, picking him straight up, turning, and then setting him, basically slamming him down on his back, and me sitting out in a already pinning combination.
Sweet.
So-
That
So,
sounds hard
I
to
love-
do.
Yeah.
So it requires, you've got to be kind of naturally strong to pull it off.
I
anyway.
bet.
Especially considering who generally your opponent is.
Right.
Yeah, what's the biggest opponent you've pulled that off on?
Biggest opponent I've pulled that off on was someone who was about 285 pounds.
Good Lord, man.
Running at you.
But he is not
from
the biggest
ropes.
opponent I have picked up. The biggest opponent I picked up was a legitimate 450 pounder.
Good
And
Lord.
I actually had to,
That didn't compress your spine?
well, I didn't have to, yeah, I mean, I picked this guy, I body slammed. So just like the old Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant style.
So you were
but
able to
he was-
use the. Were you able to use the momentum? Or
No, he started dead. What happened, and this is the other thing too, is that with wrestling you do work in concert with your opponent.
right?
Sure.
It's
To-
like
to do something.
choreography.
It's a safety thing.
unless
Sure.
you're Bill Goldberg, but yes.
Yes.
Right.
But this guy could not, for whatever reason, post up for me for the body slam, and I was like I can't remember if I was a babyface at that time, and he was the heel, which would have made the most sense because I was like the big strong babyface. He was the even bigger heel, and so I would go to pick him up, and he did not post up for me, and that pissed me off. Pissed off Brooks gets Hulk strength.
Oh
Nice.
shit!
So I was like, fuck this. And I just muscled him up and slammed him down.
Nice.
And I was not gentle on the slam down because I was like, dude, you're making us look bad.
So this
It's not
was
necessarily-
during a match, right?
This was during a match.
So people were watching this.
Exactly.
Mm.
So they completely forgot the fact that I had a little bit of trouble picking him up. So, because I, then got that second wind and just slammed him. But
Damn.
oh my God, that sucked.
Well, how did he act after the match?
He was like, man, I'm sorry. I was winded because we did go a while. And with bigger guys like that, they can't go as long sometimes. I mean, I'm in my wrestling, I guess, prime. I was in the upwards of 290 and between 290 and 315. But the difference is that I could still go a long way.
You had more endurance, more stamina.
Right. And that was for me wrestling in high school all the time. So
how much of like when you were competing and let's say you were going to do a move, and let's say it just didn't go the way you planned. The choreography didn't work out or someone did something wrong or like what you said, if something were to go wrong and you weren't able to Hulk strength and body slam and it was obviously a mistake, is that sort of planned for at all in this sort of scripting of the whole thing where you kind of got to play it off like, I made a mistake, kind of thing?
It's the same thing with it's a whose line situation. You ad lib your way out of it.
Okay.
And so I very rarely, I called maybe a few spots in the back, but everything else I was going to do, I said, just follow my lead, listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
In old school wrestling, the heel leads the match.
Okay. So that this is so that the good guy or the baby face can come back and be victorious, right?
Right. So I, beat them down. I give them, the chance to fight back a little bit, cut them off, beat them down some more, and they start building back up to something even bigger. Get to the, it can be pretty formulaic. So if you have a formula that works, you can just change like little bits in it.
Okay.
That makes sense.
It'll be fine. And it works, 90% of the time, it works all the time.
Right.
So, you still have those every once in a while. And plus I have guys that they feel more comfortable calling everything in the back.
Okay.
That's fine. Not typically the way I like to do things. I like to feel out the crowd and go that way. But I do understand the whole, calling out some bigger spots and getting some stuff in there. And I've set up stuff like that, and then we just build. So
Okay,
it's fun.
So what's the you talking about this just made me think, what's the relationship with the wrestlers in the ring and the announcer? Because I feel like, or what I've heard, I don't honestly have a lot of experience with wrestling, but what I've heard is that like the announcer's job is essentially to cover for the wrestlers in the ring. Like if things get kind of fucked up, I guess, you know what I mean? Like to kind of like maybe draw attention away from something that might have gone wrong,
sort of like
and to emphasize the things that like have really gone right.
Yeah. That's pretty much spot on. I mean, it's everybody's working together. No one wants to be out there. Like if you're talking about like, your Jim Rosses and Jerry the King Lawlers,
right.
Talking about, you're all part of the same team.
Right.
You don't want to be out there calling, anything bad, but it's a live show.
And I think
goes wrong,
especially like in that era. Jerry the King, I think, didn't get as much respect as he deserved because he was the master of distraction.
And y'all bringing him up really makes me regret not having Andy Kaufman in my draft.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, I tell you, that Andy Kaufman, that brings me up to a gimmick that I wanted to do, but then I had my neck injury. So I'm not sure if you guys recall me having an issue with my birth certificate a few years back.
Yeah, I remember you telling me this story.
Okay. I don't think Ian has heard this one, and I'm not sure about Tyler.
Yeah, I
don't know this.
Okay. So a few years back, I work in an industry where I have to, I can't really talk about the things I do.
Right.
But it involves cybersecurity for certain things. So I had an incident where I had to basically prove who I was, and I was in the middle of a move. So my birth certificate was in storage. I was like, man, I don't want to go digging through that. I'll just fork over the $20 to get a birth certificate from my health department. I get the birth certificate. I go out to the car and I look at it. And I was like, wait a minute. Name, right. Birth date, right. Parents, right. Sex, female. Wait, what?
Oh,
okay,
boy.
So I go back in. I was like, hey, I think this came out wrong. And I showed her and she looked at it and like, okay. wait, what? And so she goes into the computer system. It's like, huh, computer sister says you're female.
Oh no.
Okay. I was like, I'll tell you what. We'll go to the original birth record.
We'll go to the bathroom.
That is, yeah, I wish it was that easy. But they had the original handwritten birth record from when I was born at my local hospital. And they looked at that. Name, doctor that was there when I was born, parents, and sex, female. Son of a bitch. So it's like, well, this is not a problem if it didn't get to the state health department. If it got there, you'll have to go through the court to get this fixed. I was like, okay. So she calls the state health department. Yeah, guess what? It was female there too. So basically, I go back out to my car. I sit there for a minute. I'm like, all right, let's get this over with. So I call my dad. I was like, hey, Pop, is there anything you want to tell me about the day I was born? 'Cause you never know.
They had one spare.
I feel like I was male all the time, but you never know. So he's like, no, why? And I was like, well, my birth certificate says I'm female. Cue 5 minutes of him laughing his ass off.
Right. Naturally.
As I would totally expect my dad to do. He's like, man, they really fucked that one up, didn't they? I was like, yeah.
Yeah, they had a 50-50 shot of getting it right.
Well, so what I suspect happened is around the time I was born in the town I live in is there were several other Brooks. Either Brooks, plural, Brooke with an E, or Brooke without the E or the S. Several of those were born around the time I was born. All girls. So they just like, yeah, Brooke, girl, we'll go with
Doctor
that.
was just on autopilot. Just I'm used to
Yeah,
doing this.
pretty much.
Mark it up on them all. Let the court sort them out.
We're going to respect this baby's privacy. We're not going to double check anything.
Well,
we'll just assume
and
female.
it was, and Tyler, you work in a hospital, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a hospital that was still working on paper and everything. So it's, they were just handwriting. It was some nurse on autopilot. I mean, I can't fault them. They have to handwrite that shit.
So what was the court process like?
The court process was actually interesting because
did you have to show a judge your dick?
I was like, hey, I've got Exhibit D here.
Sorry, it's a rough photocopy.
However, so we had, because this will give you an idea of how sketchy my town is. They every Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they have
it was gender fixed day.
Free consultation for with a attorney.
Okay.
So I went to one of those.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah,
I blew his mind apparently, with this problem. He was like, well, so what he said, and thank God I didn't go with this, is like, well, I think since you aren't actually changing your sex, you're just correcting that, you actually have to publish your intent to change that in the local
newspaper. Oh my God.
Thanks, Lionel Hutz.
For 4 weeks.
For 4 weeks?
Oh,
yeah,
my God.
4 weeks has to run. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
I mean,
I was like, I live in southern Indiana. I was like, do you know what this would do?
Oh my
Just,
God.
like, yeah. I was like, there ain't no way I'm publishing this. So
at your expense, no less.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I was like, I don't care. You know, they think I'm from the local college town, you know, that's, you know, all blue in a red state.
Right.
Right.
And I was like, oh boy. So I had to deal with that. Thankfully, due to our LGBTQ, I think I said that right.
LGBTQ.
TQIA plus.
There we go. Yes. Someone had actually collected all the paperwork for Indiana to get that stuff filed. And so I just like did that with that, talked to a court clerk and was able to get it changed relatively painlessly.
That's awesome.
That is
a damn thing.
actually
That's
really great
Yeah.
because you were able to, it's great that those who want to change their gender can,
Right.
but those who need to change their gender also can use that
Right.
to their advantage. So that's great.
It worked out for me. Didn't have to pay any fees or anything.
Nice.
So they had all that paperwork also, and I was like, sweet. So that worked out.
Cool.
Now, that story is all because of me wanting to. I had this gimmick idea shortly before I retired, and this was going to set up with wrestling with some of the prominent females in the industry.
Back to
Is
Andy
that
Kaufman.
I would wrestle as I would win a promotions women's championship. Because I had a birth certificate in the state of Indiana that said I was a female. And I wanted to run with that gimmick for the longest time
that
and
would've
get
been
some of
good. Shit.
there's some pretty legitimate women that would actually, it would be somewhat believable to
Not
wrestle
win.
against them.
Right.
Well, and yeah, for me to not win.
Right.
And even some of the smaller ones, if done right, would have been great. But I've never gotten the chance to run that one. So
I like that a lot.
Well,
Man.
that is funny as hell.
So
yes,
we haven't, I don't know, I can't remember if we mentioned this or not, but we are talking about, Tyler, you mentioned, we're talking about the LJN WWF games
Speaking of funny as hell,
on the Super Nintendo.
Yes.
Right.
Did you play these when you were a kid? I know I'd like to hear from everybody whether they did or not. But Brooks, I know that you said you probably came into it a little bit later, but I'm curious.
I owned all three of these games.
I knew you owned one of them at least.
Because you ended up with it. Right.
So the ones that didn't end up in my collection later on, I think one of my brothers might have sold. Were the WWF Raw and Super Wrestlemania.
That happens.
So, and I think you ended up with Royal Rumble.
That sounds right. Yeah, because I have Royal Rumble and I think I have the arcade game as well. WrestleMania, the arcade game.
Pit Fighter, WWF Pit Fighter.
We'll get to that on another episode. But don't take my word for it.
But yes,
I missed this whole generation
Yeah.
of wrestling games.
This-
my cousins
this
would
was
play
about
the NES one.
Yeah, this is about the generation I started watching wrestling.
I remember seeing this game over at my cousin's house. Like this, one of the three. I'm not sure which one it was because I didn't watch a lot of wrestling. I remember, I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I wanted to play it with him, but it was like we had to go or something, and my mom. So like, I never got to play it with him, but it looked really interesting. I mean, I've always kind of been into fighting games, and like I know that wrestling games are a little bit different, but they're in that same vein.
Well, it's almost like a side-scrolling beat 'em up without the side-scrolling part,
right? Yeah, and
obviously more moves and things,
right?
rules
Yeah,
and timers and stuff.
yeah, and I think that's where it kind of like gets more like a fighting game. I think I remember seeing him play it and not knowing who any of the people in the game were, but thinking, wow, this is like in depth. Like, like it wasn't, I guess I wasn't used to seeing games that like, this was a game that already had its lore, like long before the game existed.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And it's like, even in like movie games, that wasn't necessarily there all the time, because a lot of times it was just, well, here's a movie, let's slap it on anything, and not really take care of how it's treated.
What's that Ray Liotta movie game we played? That was kind of like that.
Was it Man? No.
I can't remember. Fuck.
But no,
Operation Dumbo Drop.
Man, I wish. This is a Pilot Wings sequel on the SNES.
but that was very much one of those, or it's like this movie thing on this game that
No escape.
No Escape. That's it. I don't know. I kind of felt like No Escape. They did a good job of like, how do we? I don't think it was a fun game, but I do think they did a good job of like
Trying to capture
adapting the
something.
movie. I think Jurassic Park is a really good one because there are so many, like Jurassic Park on the Game Gear. I loved that game, but I mean, it's like there's a scene where the explorer is driving from left to right and dinosaurs are literally falling from the sky and you're shooting. Like they're just not they're
Right.
not pterodactyls. They're like dinosaurs and it's like they're falling from the sky. Like that's kind of like the level I was referring to. But it's like I got the impression from these games that there was a lot of love put into it, the same way that Brunswick World Championship, where
Sure.
it's, you know what I mean? Where
Yeah,
it's
they
like
wanted it to be for the fan
for the
of
fans,
wrestling,
right?
And there was a lot of them. You know,
Sure.
there was a big audience to appeal to. So that, I think they had big shoes to fill here. I think they really needed it to have the bells and whistles and polish here and there that makes that a thing and not make it some generic off-brand thing with a WWF logo on it,
Right.
because the fans had expectations, and I think it lived up to that on all three counts, despite
I mean,
any flaws there might have been. I think there was some real love put into these, like you say.
I mean, one of the things that came out of it was like, they included the 16-bit versions of everybody's entrance music.
Yes, which I thought was a fantastic addition there, because that's a big deal. When you have those little touches in there, it makes it feel more familiar. It makes it feel we talked about, Brooks's intro music that we use for our transition.
Right.
And it that's the thing that sort of gets you in the mood for that particular wrestler. It introduces
It's part of it,
them. It's
right?
part of their
Yeah.
it's part of their whole persona.
Yep.
And
Yeah, I mean it's who they are.
yeah.
I know we'll get to like good things and bad things,
Right.
but I do want to say, because you mentioned the intro music, I could tell that the SNES was not. It was limiting what the game they wanted to make, because like
Yes.
even going through and choosing the characters, and when it would play their music
There
in
was
the
a
background,
pause
there was a
and-
loading
yeah.
time,
Yeah,
and it
for
was like,
sure.
God, this is just a little too
They
long.
stretched it just a little bit farther than and again, it was either do that or leave it out. And
Right.
there's no way
they
were
made the
gonna
right
leave it
decision.
out. Yeah.
They made the right decision putting it in, I think. Because I mean, like you were saying, I mean, this is fan service. I mean,
Yes.
it really is. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
It's-
not at all.
But if this is for the fans, then it needs to be for the
for
fans.
the fucking fans. Absolutely it does. And yeah.
There were I also noticed another like thing where it's like, oh man, this is like really pushing the SNES to its limits, is how choppy it is. Like when you're wrestling, it's very like the frame rate
It's
is
hinky.
is-
Yeah,
it is.
Especially-
hinky is a good
Especially
way
when
to
you have more than the 4 wrestlers on the screen.
Right.
Yes.
absolutely. They-
Taxing that system hard.
They tried to do a lot, and it's like WWF Raw was multi-tap capable too. So I mean, it's like,
Yep.
so it was
so you got a real Royal Rumble possible
Yeah.
with multiple
Yeah.
individual players.
Up to 6 players,
That's
I think, for
crazy.
the
That's
Royal
pretty
Rumble, because that's how
badass.
many wrestlers you could have in the ring at the time.
And I'm like Tyler, I kind of miss these as well. I didn't really, so I have been watching wrestling in some form or fashion since the late 70s. My mom's dad, my Papa Bob, he called it wrestling. And I've talked about him before. He was the most straight-laced. He was the guy that works at IBM with the thick black glasses and the pocket protector with the 1950s slick in the short sleeve button-down shirt. I mean, this guy was the
Crispin Glover
stereotype Crispin Glover from Back to the Future in the 50s and Back to the Future, right? but he loved his wrestling. And it was the only time I ever saw him stay up past 9 p.m. And he would go and make himself a cup of Sanka. And then he would get it and sit in there and we would watch wrestling together.
What is Sanka?
It's decaf coffee from the 70s.
Oh, okay.
It was real popular then. I don't think they make it anymore. But it was kind of like it was either like if you go to the restaurants in the late 70s and early 80s, it was water, soda, or Sanka.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And that was a real popular joke in Papa Bob's house, as a matter of fact.
Hey, all right.
Because Mama Kay would bring in the Sanka, and she'd say, "Here's your Sanka. You're welcome." And I thought that was the funniest fucking thing. But we would watch this. I
agree.
And this was like when wrestling was like still, it was not really national. There was a lot of public access TV wrestling, with these guys that they never
had. The territory days.
Yeah, exactly. They had the territories for wrestling, and he would watch, and all the guys dressed they didn't have costumes and they didn't have gimmicks. They just got up there and fucking beat the shit out of each other. They'd all be wearing a Speedo, and and then it started to. I started to just sort of not pay attention to it. Then came my early teen years. Me and my friend John, not John Turley, the other John, who was the drummer in my band. We would watch on Saturday night. The wrestling would come on after Saturday Night Live, and it was like the Hulk Hogan and the early days of like sort of the real WWF when that was starting to really take off.
Sure.
So we got
that was huge.
Saturday night main event.
Saturday night main event. Thank you, Brooks, because I could not remember the name of it. Every single Saturday night, without fail, he was at my house or I was at his house, and we were staying up late to watch wrestling. And so I got into it and then it kind of faded away again. And then came the Attitude Era, the Raw, it was starting to really become like this mega thing where they're packing stadiums with 70, 80,000 people, and D-Generation X and The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin and Undertaker and Kane. And that was like my last sort of go around with wrestling. We'd have someone over every single Thursday night. We would have friends over. We would watch it. We would super get into it.
My friends would split the pay-per-view, all throw in $5.
Absolutely. Every time there was a pay-per-view, we would have. I always had the bigger house of everyone, and so
got my first blowjob during St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Ooh, nice,
yeah.
nice.
You could do worse. You could do worse.
I did.
No, I've heard.
When the Big Show came up through the ring and through Austin through the cage. Yeah. Is that when you came through?
You're waiting for it. You're like, slow down. Not yet. Take it out. Slap it on your face a little bit.
But my point of that was these games came out in sort of one of my like slumps where I wasn't really giving a shit about wrestling. So I never really got into any wrestling games, but it was neat to go back and play these and see the rosters, which I felt like some of the rosters were a little weak. But
the rosters were weird, and they were split between this and the Genesis. Like Genesis had
and they had like exclusive wrestlers for each system too. I think. And
the Super NES or the Super WrestleMania, even the Genesis version was the only one that had finishing moves. Too.
Yeah, Super WrestleMania did not have those on the Super Nintendo, which was they pretty much classified that.
But I felt like they had, for the most part, the better wrestlers of that era.
That's the one that had Macho Man, Randy Savage, and stuff, right?
It had Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, and Ted DiBiase. They were the ones that were shared between both versions. Mm-hmm. The Super NES had Jake Roberts, The Undertaker,
Jake the Snake,
Legion of Doom, The Natural Disasters, and Sid Justice, who you guys would know from, early Attitude Era, Psycho Sid.
That's right.
Or in WCW, Sid Vicious.
Sid Vicious.
Okay.
Yeah.
I seem to, and I think it's kind of a brilliant idea that they had to have a different roster on each system. I think it sort of could have incentivized the right buyer.
Pokemon Red and Blue.
Into getting both
Yeah,
games.
Absolutely. But man, they could have like if they Red and Blue. That's great. Like, why limit it to the Genesis? Like, why not just like release it both at the same time and be like, got these on this and this on this.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at the box art for all three.
Sure.
Games. Box art, I think is phenomenal all the way around. It looks.
I knew exactly what it was.
Exciting and capturing and engaging. It's like,
And
it's good. That's good.
yeah, especially the WrestleMania got Hulk Hogan right there on the front. You know, Macho Man, Jake the Snake Roberts, Legion of Doom.
yeah,
the only ones that you wouldn't theoretically know possibly would be Sid Justice.
Now, it did on the box art have this little rainbow on it. The seal of quality that we all know from our childhoods, the LJN rainbow. I was perplexed. Like, why is the LJN rainbow on there? Because when I started doing research on the games, I was like, LJN didn't develop or publish these games. It was developed. They were developed by Sculptured Software and published by Acclaim Entertainment. And then I was like, wait a minute, when did Acclaim buy LJN? Because I knew that they had, and they bought
it in that transition.
It was in 1990.
Okay.
So then I was like, well, so Super WrestleMania came out in 1992. Royal Rumble came out in 93 and Raw came out in 94. So I was like, okay, so the first one came out in 92. Technically, there was the NES game as well, which came out before, but which was before.
I know where you're going with this too.
Do you? Well, correct me if I mess anything up. The NES version had come out before that buyout. So I was like, okay, so why still include the rainbow on there? And Brooks, I want to hear your 2 cents, but because I don't really honestly have an answer, but my guess is there are two things. When the game came out, Acclaim already owned LJN, but wrestling games had already been put out under the LJN. WWF licensed games had already come out under the LJN brand. So I think they decided to include that for authenticity. Also, LJN had the license for the WWF action figures. That's
100% it.
From 1984 to 1989, LJN signed a licensing agreement with WWF.
It's brand recognition.
Well, I think it might have been contractual, maybe even possibly.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think a little from column A, a little from column B, because LJN was a toy company.
Yes,
and I think they would often consider their video games to be toys as well. So I think it was a thing that had to be done. I don't have anything to back that up. This is just
we gotta capitalize on the LJN fandom. They're fierce.
Well, they still show up at the toy conventions and stuff like that. People make money collecting these things.
Yeah, the action figures. I looked at a few of them because I was like, this is really interesting. And there are a lot. There are a lot of them. I was really surprised. So I think that had something to do with it. I think
and on top of that, a lot of the wrestlers in this game have been wrestling since before and with the WWF at that time, before that buyout happened.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So
there's probably like you said, some contractual
likeness
obligations in there.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, listening to that podcast I was talking about earlier, where it was like, this is probably super old news to you guys. I had no idea about any of this, but how McMahon would license out the wrestlers as essentially as characters,
yes,
and devoid of the wrestlers. He would treat them you're playing a character and you're the actor. I own the character,
right? So
I'm going to license the character, because they were talking about the cartoon show where it's none of the wrestlers are voicing themselves and not getting money for that because
they
McMahon's
don't have the rights to their own character.
Right, I own the rights to the characters, and
I actually knew
Fucked
that.
up,
I
man.
knew that
It's
about
fucked
him.
up.
That's why. That's one of the many reasons he is so universally hated.
It's fucked up.
There are
he
two
was a-
exceptions to that whole thing. One exception was, I do believe, Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, Sergeant Slaughter played himself in G.I. Joe.
Correct.
Wow.
And then, of course, the Macho Man Randy Savage with Slim Jim.
Yep.
Ah.
Yep.
He was contracted with Slim Jim, not the WWE. So shortly after he left the WWF at the time and went to rival WCW, the Slim Jim commercials came with him.
No, big money.
Yes.
Interesting.
Snap into a Slim Jim.
So
That's one of
instead
those
getting the
tagline.
Slim Jim
Yeah.
commercials on USA Network, you would be getting them on Turner Network Television
Right.
Right.
and Turner Broadcasting Station. So
Well, if you guys were to maybe say a movie or a celebrity to roll in your experiences with these three games, what might you say?
All right. Would you like me to do all of mine or just one at a time?
Sure, go
around the
ahead.
table?
Because I just picked one to encompass all of them.
I did
if you did
too.
Individually, go
I
It's
did
ahead.
probably
one.
the same one as me.
I did. One,
So I'll let you go first.
I did one for each game. So,
Okay.
Okay.
do you want me to go first?
Please do.
Yeah.
The first one for Super Wrestlemania, I chose the movie from 1989, No Holds Barred, which was a movie curated specifically to launch Hulk Hogan's career into megastardom. It just follows his character in the movie. His name is Rip Thomas through his career, where WWF wrestling is a legitimate competition sport and not sports entertainment.
Was that the Dookie one?
yes,
Okay. What's that smell?
Yeah, God.
it's also the movie where at the very start you have Hulk Hogan riding on a motorcycle, and then doing this whole montage, and then you see this guy throwing his dog.
Throwing a
in-
dog in the lake. You're right.
What the hell?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that clip, man. The moment when that was pointed out to me, it was like, well, okay, I could never not unsee that.
My second one for WWF Royal Rumble, I chose a movie that I have not seen, but I definitely want to see now after reading about it, called Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies. It's a movie from 2013. I chose this one because I felt like in some of the difficulty levels, you felt like you were actually wrestling zombies. Like there was very little going on. The movie was about a guy named Shane Douglas accidentally killing another wrestler in the ring during an indie show. That wrestler's brother decides to exact vengeance on him by raising an army of the undead to take Douglas out, and books a show in an abandoned prison to trap Douglas and get him killed. So in this movie is Matt Hardy, Kurt Angle, Roddy Piper, Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh, wow.
All playing zombie versions of themselves. It looks like it would be a hoot, and I'm definitely going to put this on my list and report back. But it says here, Bleacher Report mentioned in their review saying when The Rock shoots movies, you don't see him pile driving his opponents. In an interview on the Ringer's Book of Wrestling podcast, director Cody Knott says he loved the Attitude Era, especially loved when wrestling was raw and real instead of just calling itself Raw. And his love really comes through in this low-budget gore fest. That's the review that I loved. This movie looks like an absolute hoot, but I did pick it because during the game, some of these games, I was just whipping ass. And that's because I had my difficulty level set
the one?
way too low. I did up it after that. And my last pick is for WWF Raw. This one I chose The Wrestler, starring Mickey Rourke as a former 1980s wrestling superstar who is kind of fallen from fame and is now working at a deli counter. and plays at wrestling on the weekends because he's addicted to it. He loves that life and he wants to be back in it. This was an Oscar nominee. I want to say it maybe even won. I didn't double check on that.
I remember it being a big deal.
They call it Mickey Rourke's finest performance of his entire career. And it was a really, really upsetting but very, very good movie that I highly recommend. So that's why I picked that, because I feel like when the Raw era started, when WWF Raw was a thing, I felt like it was starting to become. I feel like the movie The Wrestler takes a serious look at wrestling and how it's grown and changed over the years and what happens to these guys as they, even someone like Brooks who gets hurt and can't do it anymore because it's just too risky. And then I feel like the Raw era is when I feel like people started to really take this seriously.
And we're like,
and
yeah.
it became a huge mega thing. And without it, I just think that's when it ramped up and it just stayed up there. It's still huge. It's still huge. That Raw big show, that big event that it became means that they started really taking themselves seriously and working to make that big money. And so that's why I picked that movie.
You look at it too, it's like they produce a live show every week.
Right.
A ridiculously complicated elaborate
So
live
complicated,
show.
so elaborate, and even lately, some of the stuff gets rewritten just before the show starts too.
Right.
And they do it with that level of production quality.
Right.
And WWE specifically.
Yes.
Or what changed in the moment. I remember reading that one time, just by coincidence, what a Royal Rumble, whenever two wrestlers fell out of the ring and hit the floor at the exact same time. So they just rolled with it that they both won whenever one was supposed to win, one was supposed to lose.
Yeah.
So
yes, Bret Hart and Lex Luger are the first and only official co-winners.
Huh.
That's actually happened twice where people had gone over the top rope at the exact same time. The other time was with Batista and John Cena.
Wow.
Yeah.
Big time
Batista
difference
picked
there.
John Cena up for a power bomb and lost his balance and falls over the top rope, and they hit at the exact same time.
That's crazy.
That is fucking crazy.
And it pissed off Vince McMahon so much that you see him storming to the ring to try to get everything straightened up. And when he gets to the ring, he tries to stand up and collapses back down.
Oh, I love it. I know why. It's so good.
Because he tore both of his quads
Oh.
getting into the ring.
Seeing that scene when he slides, and you just see that. Oh,
Ow.
But the wrestler won. Go ahead, Brooks.
It's like he sits there while the referee, talking to the referees and the wrestlers.
The show must go on.
Oh, man.
Tyler.
But I do that the wrestler won one Academy Award. It was Marissa Tomei for Best Performance by Supporting Actress.
Okay. All right.
She is fantastic.
Remember
in
that was.
She's just fantastic.
I'm just not talking about that. I'm just not talking about her body too.
No, me neither.
My Cousin Vinny, that speech she gives on the stand, and My Cousin Vinny, God, perfect.
Oh, she has
Perfection.
several monologues in My Cousin Vinny. Like Biological Clock monologue is great.
Yes.
Yeah.
On the stand. Yeah, that's a fantastic
She
one
can
too.
do just about anything and be sexy when she's doing it, and just so smart and funny. Love Marissa Tomei.
Brooks, did you happen to have a movie or anything? Do you know our formula?
Yes, I have a two movies that I like in these games too, because I find they're both just fun movies. And they're both but have one of the same actors / wrestler in it. and that's Rowdy Roddy Piper.
I know where you're going.
Yes.
I know where you're going.
The first one is because Royal Rumble just felt this way for me. Is definitely They Live.
Yeah.
Because I had
God, I love that movie.
Love that
So
fucking
cute.
movie.
bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Duke Nukem quotes
Yeah.
him in
Yes.
the game. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
such a good movie.
And then another one, which is actually, and this kind of feels like the old, feels a little bit more like Super Wrestlemania, and kind of the fun of Raw is a little bit because it's a little bit more arcadey in some instances. It's a movie called Body Slam.
Body Slam. I don't know that one.
It has Rowdy Roddy Piper, him, and a guy named Tonga Tom. I think that was his name in that movie, but he was actually the Tonga Kid in wrestling.
Yes, I know the Tonga Kid. Okay.
So then they form a tag team with a guy who thought he was getting into managing a rock singer or something, but finds out that he's managing a wrestler now. And so Captain Lou Albano's in the movie.
Oh, yes.
So
Don't do drugs. You're
It
gonna
was
help
just
before
a
you die.
fun movie.
Captain Lou was in a Cyndi Lauper video. Girls just want to have fun.
He's one of those that he got around because of him
Yes.
being just a big character.
Yeah,
And I think
himself,
actually
yeah.
Cyndi Lauper and Captain Lou Albano were actually friends.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
did.
I
I
didn't
think
know
I
that.
did know that because I think they were from the same area. I think they were both from like
think so.
Brooklyn or wherever. I can't remember exactly,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think they
which
like
there were several crossovers with him and her music videos.
Yeah.
Her in the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Yes.
Yeah.
She even showed up. I think she even showed up at wrestling from time to time back in the day.
She showed up opposite Wendy Richter
Yeah.
at one of the WrestleManias.
Wow.
I think the
I-
first WrestleMania.
You are unlocking so many memories for me. Things that I have thought I had long forgotten. Tyler, what movie did you do?
I picked the David Arquette classic, Ready to Rumble,
Nice.
because like these three games, it's just it's got its problems, but it's just sort of goofy fun.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Dave,
I went with the
Bandini, you want to wrestle?
I went with the 1999 classic film Gremlins 2: The New Batch, in which Hulk Hogan saves the movie after the Gremlins infiltrate the photo booth that is the projection booth that is showing the movie in progress.
Like you do.
Like you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also had an honorable mention, which was Rocky 3, where at the beginning,
Thunderlips.
Rocky has a exhibition match against Hulk Hogan, aka Thunderlips, in the movie. Really good shit. Yeah,
what about a Nick Cage movie?
I didn't pick
Anybody?
one. I picked 3 wrestling movies, so
Fair.
I
That's
didn't
fair.
do Nick Cage.
I've got one. I'll go last though.
Okay, Brooks.
A Nick Cage movie. I think I will have to go with Face Off.
What is face?
Because all the faces look the same.
Because all the faces look the same. Plus, it's kind of over the top, and some of the characters, obviously, in Raw, definitely over the top. I mean, you have Doink the Clown,
Doink
Luna
the
Vachon.
Clown.
I mean,
Mine is.
I have met Diesel, so
That's cool. The original Super Shredder.
yes, met him. So him, I went to the restroom at a wrestling show, and someone was in the stall. There was only like a stall and a urinal, so I went to the urinal. Did my thing. Come out. There was one sink with a mirror, so I'm washing my hands, and someone comes out of the stall. I look. I can't see his head in the mirror. I just see torso. I kind of bend down and look up, and in the reflection of the mirror, and see that's Kevin Nash standing
Damn.
behind me. I'm like, huh? I was like, here, let me finish up. I'd shake your hand, but I know where it's been. Yeah, a good chuckle. I left, and that was my encounter with Kevin Nash.
Huh,
Pretty good.
cool.
I still would have shaken his hand. Like, I want to shake your hand because I know exactly where.
Been getting that ooze.
No, I'm going to pick the darkest.
If I rub this on me, will it make me a super shredder?
He drank all of it. So I'm choosing the darkest timeline variation of the wrestler because the actor originally intended for the
Right.
wrestler was Nick Cage.
Right.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
They said he looked too healthy, so then they offered it to Mickey Rourke.
Which he fit the role perfectly then, yeah.
I'm glad you went that route because I almost did. And then I decided to choose the 2016 footage of Nicolas Cage and Vince Neil wrestling on the Las Vegas Strip during daylight hours.
Nice. A sentence you would have never thought could have ever
You
been
can find
uttered.
this online.
That's great.
Nice.
Moving right along.
We want to define good things and bad things.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I
Yep.
feel like we already touched on some of
We
this
We did
touched
stuff.
touch
some of
on
it.
some of it. And I mean, just as a quick recap of some of the stuff I may have said or may not, just going to run through mine real quick.
Sure.
I think these are all three enjoyable, especially for a wrestling fan. I think they'd be an excellent series to have on tap in your collection, just to pick up and play, especially if you're having a buddy over and you want to do, and you're into wrestling. This is it. You know, this is the way to do it. I feel like the rosters hit both on kind of the good and the bad for me. But I think just touching briefly into one of my quote unquote bad things, because I didn't have a lot of bad things to say about these games, was that as much as I would have liked to have seen a Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and Mankind, and I did a little checking, and actually by the time even the last game in the series Raw, which is the one we drew first, these guys had just begun their career.
Sure,
and so they
right.
weren't going to be included yet. Or even if they had started, you know, the Stone Cold came up from being the ringmaster, and then he started being more popular and changed his persona to Stone Cold Steve Austin, which was a huge hit. But by the
Around this time, he was tag teaming with Brian Pillman in WCW.
yeah, and he was still the ringmaster, and
He was stunning Steve Austin
stunning Steve Austin. Okay,
at part of the Hollywood Blondes
gotcha. Yes,
because he had hair.
He had hair, a lot of hair, and so they would not have been included just because of the time the game came out. So I can't really call it a bad thing, but I did think that the rosters were fairly complete for the, at least for the Super NES version. I didn't get into any of the others, obviously, for obvious reasons. But then the other thing I just had was, we touched on briefly, I thought as the games progressed through the time, they got a little better and a little more polished and a little more, you know, there was clear attention to detail by the developers as these newer games started to come out. Definitely taking feedback from their fan base to improve graphics and sound and add this character or that wrestler or this feature or take this out and put this in. You know, there was definitely some, again, going back to what you said earlier, Dave, care was given as the series
Each
progressed,
year, which is like
it's like Madden, you know,
but it's better, because Madden didn't change that much from year to year. They'd update the roster and like a few things, but like what they changed year to year in these games are like drastic compared to Madden, because it's like I think they started adding the finishing moves or the signature moves on the SNES in the second game.
Royal Rumble.
Right, Royal Rumble. And then by Raw, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different game modes.
Right.
And multi-tap functionality. Like I feel like I think they added that with Raw as well. I mean, it just got like it over short periods of time. They didn't just update the roster.
Right.
They went the extra mile, which is like,
we're talking about a period of 2.5 years for all three of these games.
Right.
That came out.
And roughly, and the same technology too.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Super WrestleMania started off running a little bit, you know, you got more than the tag team on the screen. It ran slow.
Yeah, I think it's a bad game. I don't like Super WrestleMania at
Yeah.
all.
Well, it's regarded.
But
it's usually
it's a
regarded
prototype,
as the
so
bad one.
It's definitely such a tremendous step up to Royal Rumble and Raw.
Raw is the best.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like
They're the
this is
most
one of
time.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like this
Yeah.
is one of those series where this is perfect. Like the last one should be the best one, you know?
Yes.
Like it always sucks to look like
When they go back
Donkey
and
Kong
break
Country
something.
3. I mean,
yeah.
Mega Man X3. Yeah.
Right.
It's
yeah.
either more of the same or they've gone and broken a really functional mechanic
Right.
that was there before and now it's not.
Or they don't know what to do with it.
Right.
But it's like in like Raw, it's like they definitely knew what to do. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's great. I feel like that's extremely respectable development. And it's nice to see like a fan base like actually get treated with respect, like
Yeah.
from the video game regards. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like that's cool because we don't always see that. I love the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on NES, but that wasn't like that's not like a fan favorite. You know what I mean? So, but that's like I was talking about the game modes. That's on my list of
yeah,
like
that's
good things.
crazy.
It's insane because it's like in Raw, there's 1-on-1, tag team, Bedlam, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, and Raw Endurance match.
and you don't get that level of variety in. Can't think of
Also-
a game that has that.
Also, something that happens in the Raw version, I don't think happens in Royal Rumble. Actually, I think it might, but whenever you have the referee in the ring,
Right?
you can knock him down.
Yes, you can.
Which is awesome.
If
That's a
you
great
do it
mechanic.
enough
Yeah.
times in Raw, he walks out, and then the match finishes. That you can finish the match in brawl mode.
Oh
Right.
shit! I didn't know
That's
that.
cool.
That's cool.
Yes. And also, if you are, this is also the first wrestling game for the WWF that actually. So, in Royal Rumble, you had Bret Hart and Ric Flair. Now their finishing moves are submissions, the figure 4 leg lock and the sharpshooter, respectively.
Mhm.
But there was no submission in Royal Rumble. You just drain their energy and then pin them.
Then pin them, right?
Raw, if you put them in the submission after their energy is out, they give up.
Oh wow.
So it's the first one to have a submission as well. So they progressed further because they had Bret and Owen Hart, who both used the sharpshooter.
So I think it just sort of again speaks to the level of give a shit that the devs had to put you in connection with this franchise that everybody loved. You know, the ref thing where he leaves, you know, that would happen in wrestling. The ref would get knocked out and then they would start breaking all the rules because there was no one there to put him in check. And
Yep.
I think that's really neat that they put that in there because again, it adds that another layer of connection for the fan to the thing that the fan loves.
This felt like one of those games, you know, that there's just a lot of stuff to see.
Absolutely.
And in the same vein as like Mortal Kombat, for example, where it's just like there are a lot of conditionals that can change what you see on the screen.
Right.
Like, for example, like, you know, in Mortal Kombat, when you perform the uppercut to like the uppercut fatality at the pit, where it's like, oh wow, this is a discoverable thing.
Yes.
Raw felt like that to me. It had kind of those same vibes, but not as obviously not as like
Sure.
cartoonishly violent. But I got little bits of that too, and I think a lot of that had to do with the developer who did work on like Mortal Kombat home console ports.
Acclaim.
So right, and Sculptured as
Right,
well.
yeah.
Like that, like it had that feel to it. I got that vibe from it.
Yeah. These games are hard. I can appreciate them, but these games are hard for me to come back to because like I miss this era. Like I said, like I was allowed to watch wrestling when I was little because of The Undertaker. My parents, you know, he's demonic. You can't watch it. So really once I could watch something of my own volition, then I got into it. So, basically my wrestling knowledge and where I watched Attitude Era 97 to 2002. So that is 7th grade to senior year in high school for
Right.
me.
Which is hilarious because that was when Undertaker was his most satanic.
Absolutely.
Whenever he became the American Badass, I was allowed to watch it on TV in the living room because he wasn't demonic.
but before that,
patriot.
he had his
I would-
Ministry of Darkness going on.
Oh, yeah, I would get in trouble. Yeah, so I had to watch it on the sly. But that is the N64, PlayStation era. So my first wrestling game I really got into was SmackDown on the PlayStation and No Mercy on the N64.
Which is when those games really started ramping
Those games
up.
are huge.
Yeah.
No Mercy's huge.
so going back to this is really, really
Absolutely.
hard.
I could
I believe that.
completely understand.
Yeah. As far as I went, I started on this. So, this was the era I started watching wrestling all the time. So, like, my favorite wrestler at the time was Razor Ramon.
I did like Razor Ramon, yeah.
And, Scott Hall was, I got a friggin' drawing of the guy who did the drawings of his gear when he was working with the WWF at the time. So the guy did some artwork that I've got hanging up in my bedroom.
That's great.
That is cool.
Razor Ramon. So, I mean, yeah, these, Super WrestleMania was kind of bare bones. Royal Rumble step up, adding more match types, finishers. The moment I could do the Razor's Edge, I was like, sweet. And then, Raw, where they added more wrestling moves, kind of gave each wrestler kind of their own style a little bit. I mean, it's just that progression. I loved it.
Well, what do we have? Have we got any more good things to cover? Are we going to move to the bad, or are we just kind of covering whatever?
I mean, I've said the good things that I really liked about it. I mean, I mentioned the multi-tap functionality in Raw, which anything that has multi-tap, I think is cool. I think it's
It
a
elevates
neat thing to add.
it. Yeah, for sure.
Especially for this kind of game.
Yeah,
Yes.
totally. Right. Yeah. This. I didn't.
I did that.
Go ahead,
I
Brooks.
did one of those with a multi-tap for the PlayStation 2 for one of the SmackDown games.
I could see
That was nuts.
I could see that being a lot of fun. I could see, like, even not having watched a lot of wrestling as a kid, like if I had gone over to a sleepover and they had a Super Nintendo, WWF Raw, and a multi-tap, that would have been great.
I'll learn
I mean, that would have been like a
We did.
fantastic experience.
Yeah.
We did a 8-person ladder match on one of the SmackDown games, and that shit lasted for an hour.
Mhm. Yeah.
One match.
And you probably enjoyed every minute of that hour.
It was so like, it was like high intensity the entire time. So yeah, it was so much fun.
Do we have any bad things to say about the game?
I mean, they were all pretty samey, same formula,
Yeah.
more bells and whistles. Not necessarily a bad thing. They improved on it. I wish the graphical quality would have gotten a little bit better because the Undertaker looks like the exact same in every single game. There's more modes. It's a lot smoother. It's a lot faster. So I guess I just wish maybe there was just a little. I mean, they definitely improve on the arcade game graphically,
Sure.
but so I mean, it is like a better version of Madden. I didn't like Super WrestleMania. I wasn't into Royal Rumble until I tried Royal Rumble, and then I finished that and won. I was like, okay, that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
So and then
Royal Rumble was the best mode on that one.
Yeah.
And then I was very surprised I was like, okay, Raw is actually this feels like a functional good game where the others didn't as much.
Right.
So that's just. But where did it lose you or where did it win you? What got you?
The box art. It just, for me, it really got me going right out of the
Nostalgia.
game. Yeah, for the nostalgia factor. And had I been into it when these games came out, it would have been the same reason. This is, I think, for even a sort of a on again, off again wrestling fan like myself, this took me back to some really fond memories and some fun times that I had that all centered around this franchise. So yeah, absolutely, it delivered for me immediately.
It lost me at the grappling mechanic. I having played Natsume Championship Wrestling before this, and then playing the WWF games. I think that WWF is a lot more. These games are a lot more. They have a lot more character. They have a lot more baked in. I feel like they're a lot more exciting. But I do prefer the grappling mechanic in Natsume Championship Wrestling better, which is its timing. As opposed to in these games, when you lock up, you're mashing the button, and that is fun the first 3 times.
But it happens so
much.
Or when you play a Royal Rumble, where it's just like turn around, grapple, turn around, grapple, turn around, grapple.
Right, yeah. So, and it's cool, like even how they show what's happening, because like when you're like grappling, there's this bar that appears above your heads, and you can see like this meter on either side indicating who's winning.
Tug of war system is what they called it.
Yes, thank you, Brooks. And I think that display is cool. It just gets old after, like, I mean, I played for like 45 minutes and I was like, I gotta take a break.
Yeah,
because I'm tired.
My thumb hurts.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I loved how though in the grapple situation there'd be variety as to what could happen to break it, like a headbutt or a kick to the leg or something that would sort of break the monotony.
Right. Yeah.
So very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. The speed and the clunkiness nearly lost me. And I think the clunkiness is just part of wrestling games. I haven't played a wrestling game that doesn't feel Resident Evil style, just sort of clunky to play. But you can get over that. You know, I did with SmackDown and No Mercy. You know, I loved those games. So almost lost me with that. Got me back with the Royal Rumble mode because that felt fun and unique and different.
Royal Rumble mode is really fun. Yeah. And I agree with you. It's like, especially when I first started playing, even Raw, because I started with Raw. I did this in the wrong order.
Oh, okay.
You totally did.
But I started with Raw, and even Raw, when I was like 10 minutes, like when I first started playing, and I was like, I hope I get used to this. How like, the frame rate on it, for a lack of a better term, it's choppy.
Yeah,
it's choppy. It's really the SNES is doing it best that it can. You know.
What about you, Brooks?
I mean, yeah. After a while, I mean, there's only so much you can actually do in this game, and if you're a big wrestling fan, this only scratches the itch for so long. So, which is why I took on to later on the Fire Pro Wrestling series. So,
and those are huge. Like,
oh yeah, and they are complex. I don't know. I mean, you guys remember me setting up the TADPOG wrestling?
Yeah,
for a little bit there. Man, I did not have enough time to get all that stuff worked out to where it was like, because the AI building in that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But man, they're entertaining. I don't even hardly play those games. I just like load 2 wrestlers in that have like a good AI that I download and watch them go to town. It's enjoyable. And I think you'd actually like it more too, Dave, because it's timing based.
That's what when I was doing research on NCW, someone had mentioned that, and that this might not be true. I might be misremembering, but I think I read that Fire Pro has its roots in Natsume Championship Wrestling.
I think you're right.
So I probably would enjoy that, because I mean, once I learned that was the key in NCW, I mean, it was like that game all of a sudden, it was so much fun, because it was now it was just like, it's all about that timing and watching for the cue and hitting it. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Where would you put it in the Super Nintendo list? All three of these games. Top 100, bottom 100, middle.
I go for Raw being in the top 100 because I think a good wrestling game has a place. I know that Hatsume Wrestling is probably the one that I would say mechanically is the one that belongs there the most, but I do think having the franchise behind it earns Raw a spot in the top 100 for me.
It makes a huge difference. And as much of a fan as I am of NCW, like I said earlier, I think that Raw was a lot more exciting because of like the different game modes. And it's like the Royal Rumble. I mean, that's like, even when I'm not doing well in that, it's like, it's just fucking chaos. It's just interesting, you know?
The only
You
thing
never
Kenna
know
has
which
seen-
angle you're getting it.
right. Yeah, exactly.
The only thing Kenna has seen and loved in wrestling was watching a Royal Rumble with Jacob.
Oh, yeah.
One of the more recent ones.
That's a good person
Yeah.
to watch
That's-
your like a first Royal
Yeah.
Rumble with. I feel like
That's something that my wife and my kids watch all the time, and especially this last one, my older teenagers kind of got into it because they was like, "Wait a minute, is that Logan Paul?"
oh right.
Who, by the way, had probably one of the best spots of the night with a hometown guy for you guys named Ricochet.
All right.
He is from Paducah, Kentucky.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Did he
Yes.
happen to wrestle under the moniker Chuck Taylor in the amateur league?
No, Chuck Taylor is a different guy
Good.
who is currently wrestling in AEW.
I have nothing against Chuck Taylor. It's his mom I hate. But anyway.
I think his mom is actually in AEW too.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a story there where like
I
him
know
and his
this.
tag team partner get driven to the arena by his mom.
Yeah, no, she loved to talk about her involvement in his wrestling career. I'm not getting into it. I'm just not. Anyway.
I mean, I'd probably put Raw in the 300s, Royal Rumble in the 400s, and Super WrestleMania in the 500 and 600s.
I'm about on the same page as you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think that Raw is definitely above the middle for me, and I think that the other two are below the middle.
Yeah. Buy, rent, or birthday.
Boy, I think these are going to be. I think these for me would have been a rental.
The
Because-
latter two I would have rented.
Yeah, and but I think for the fan in me, had I been into it at the time, I probably would have bought it.
Yeah.
At least Raw.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I owned all three at one point, so that tells you anything.
But I think any of them in their respective release date, in their release year, are worth a buy. Honestly,
Raw would have been a fun rental for me, especially with a cousin or a friend to play it. I don't know that I would have enjoyed it so much by myself, but with somebody else, I think, especially somebody who loved the franchise, you know, and could like. One of the reasons I never got into wrestling is because I never really had a friend who was into it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so it was never, and it wasn't something that my family really watched. So I never really had any exposure to it until it was, I feel like, too late. And it's essentially like you and Jacob and everybody in college. I mean, that was like the first. I was like, oh wow, okay, all right,
Dave, I'll be
anything about
your
this.
older adult friend in wrestling.
I think the time has passed, unfortunately, but maybe not.
Brandon and I would have had fun with this in its heyday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He and I could have rented this. Josh and I maybe not, but Brandon and I could have rented this and had a good time with it.
Actually, Dave,
Raw.
I got something for you to check out later that you would enjoy. It's called Botchamania.
Botchamania? I thought you were going to recommend pornography to me for a second there. I was like, whoa, save it for after
no.
the show.
It's a whole bunch of stuff where wrestling goes wrong, and it's typically done to revamped video game music.
Let's say
Interesting.
Benny Hill. Like,
I'm looking this up right now.
did you guys have any achievements?
'Cause I think the time has passed, unfortunately, but maybe not. Did you guys have any achievements?
Did you guys have any achievements? Did you guys have any achievements? Did you guys have any achievements? Did you guys have any achievements?
I had
Yes.
but one.
Give me your one.
My achievement is Over the Edge. And to get this achievement, win any championship or tournament as Owen Hart. And I say this because we lost Owen Hart in a tragic accident in 1999. He was scheduled to wrestle for the Intercontinental Championship title against the Godfather, and he was going to be making a big superhero entrance into the ring, and his harness gave out.
Right.
And he fell 78 feet to his
shit.
death. And then Vince McMahon, in his wisdom, decided to make the event continue after someone literally died on live television. That's just my little...
You could see the blood where they had pushed it to the corner of the ring in the...
Yeah, it was bad, and it was real bad. And this was during that time when we were watching, and it was
the most surreal thing I've ever seen.
It was the most. We were having a party at my brother-in-law's house. This whole thing, we were in it. Like, this was at our peak wrestling, like partying and wrestling championships, PPVs, all that shit. Everyone in the room was just stunned into silence, and it was an absolute fucking tragedy. And I make the achievement not as an insult, but as a tribute to the late Owen Hart, because I really liked that guy, and he had a good career. So that's my achievement.
Brooks, you have any?
I have one. The best one I can call this is Mr. WrestleMania, which is a moniker known by the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. To get this achievement is to go from bell to bell in the Royal Rumble match as Shawn Michaels.
All right.
Okay.
Who was the first wrestler to ever win the Royal Rumble match from the number one spot.
Okay. Good one. Dave, do you have one?
I do. I'll go last.
Okay. So I've got three. My first one is the Nino. You unlock the Nino by winning the Royal Rumble as the Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Love it.
And then my second one is, okay, sure. And that is you win everything in every mode as Doink the Clown. And then my last one is, I guess that can happen, and you actually win by your opponent having ring out, because I tried my damnedest, and I could not get that to happen.
Yeah.
Just the Undertaker standing on the edge. Every time they get back in, I just fucking hurl them back out. So they have no energy, and they will not stay out for a 10 count.
Yeah, I wanted one of those too.
You have to stay out there and beat them up until about 8.
And then rush back in.
Then rush in.
Rush back in.
I had a few. The first of which is collateral damage. In order to unlock collateral damage, you inadvertently knock out the ref during a match. When I made this achievement, I didn't realize that you could do that enough times to make them just leave. My next achievement is Understruck. In order to unlock Understruck, win a Survival Series skirmish match as just the Undertaker versus 4 opponents.
Just doable.
The next achievement I have is Gorilla Monsoon. In order to unlock Gorilla Monsoon, perform commentary for this game on a television manufactured in 1982, the year that Gorilla Monsoon became an announcer for the WWF. And then Man on the Moon. In order to unlock Man on the Moon and WWF Raw, only wrestle against Luna Vachon. I said that right? And then my last achievement is Fig 8 Make You Cry. In order to unlock Fig 8 Make You Cry, perform every signature move in all of the WWF
Those
games.
are good.
Nice.
Those are good.
Also, just want to comment. This reminded me of my. You saying the Undertaker achievement reminded me of when I first heard it. The shock followed by the stupidity, shame. Whenever somebody told me that the Undertaker and Kane were not actually brothers, I was shocked, and then like, Why would I really believe that with my whole heart?
Also, I'd like to say that I don't know if this was intentional, but your Achievement Man on the Moon was also a song by REM about
the movie.
Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, totally, absolutely.
And I wanted, if that had been intentional, which it was, I wanted everyone else to know that too, because they may not have gotten it.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you guys that were able to perform signature moves. What one was your favorite?
I was unable to perform any of them.
Same.
I was unable to. I tried, man, and it's like I even pulled up Game Facts, and I was like, I just don't think this is going to happen.
Yep. I kick punch through until I could pin.
Same.
Right, same.
That was it.
Yep. So we cannot answer that question.
I'm not a true gamer.
Crush slaughtered me with his crush when he pulled that off on me on the Royal Rumble. But I noticed my health bar just said like down by half suddenly, but he's just like pushing on my head.
Yeah.
Do you have one, Brooks?
Yeah. I mean, straight up the Razor's Edge.
Razor's Edge.
That makes sense.
So, which is a crucifix power bomb.
Razor Ramon, the strongest jaw in the WWF.
We want to see Flopsy and game cost and all that.
Sure. What do you guys think? We'll do it one at a time.
Okay.
Super WrestleMania for the Super Nintendo. If you were to buy it loose right now, how much do you think you'd pay for it?
$12.99.
$5.
What do you think, Brooks?
I'm going to go $7.
$7. Actual retail value of Super WrestleMania for the Super Nintendo loose on average, according to PriceCharting.com, at the time of this recording, is $8.89. We had some pretty close guesses. What do you think Flopsy had to say about Super WrestleMania?
I'm going to say 3 stars common.
Common 1.5 stars.
What do you think, Brooks?
Common 2 stars.
Okay. I can't play because I accidentally saw some of these when I was marking the page. According to Flopsy, a.k.a. The Ultimate Nintendo Guide to the SNES Library 1991 through 1998 by Pat Contry, courtesy of Monster Mold Mike and a mysterious shadowy benefactor. WWF Super WrestleMania, 1.5 stars.
Nailed it.
Right.
1.5
Tyler.
stars. Availability, very common.
Very common. I didn't know very common was a
Yeah,
thing.
I didn't know either. That's why I said common.
I think that's like the first very common game you guys.
It may be.
Maybe.
It may be.
And interestingly enough, as I'm looking through here, they have LJN listed as the publisher. Wikipedia does not. So curious about that. That might have been a claim publishing as LJN.
That could be.
What do you guys think about WWF Royal Rumble? How much do you think you'd pay for that?
$17.
$17.
$10.
I'd go with 12.
$10, $12. Close. Actual price of Royal Rumble. Should I go through the whole thing or not?
No.
$11.78.
I got that one over by 22 cents.
That much.
What do you think Flopsy had to say about that one?
This one's definitely 2 stars and
no.
common.
I didn't get that one. I didn't get that. I said 17. My bad.
The rules are made up.
Doesn't matter.
Points don't matter.
Thank you.
Doesn't matter. Flopsy. This one I bet did get 3 stars, and I bet it was probably very common. If that's a thing, I'd say it's probably very common.
What do you think, Tyler?
2.5 stars. I'll stick with common.
Okay. Brooks?
2 stars and common.
Flopsy gave this, and I'm surprised, 3.5 stars.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big jump. I know, and it is a big jump, and I think that's warranted.
It's valid. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But still, that's a big jump.
But there's one more jump to go.
Right, exactly. and that the availability on that is common.
Okay.
So it was less available than Super WrestleMania.
Go figure.
Yeah. What do you guys think about Raw? How much do you think you pay for that?
Raw, I'm going to go $15.
$15?
$22.
I have written down here, and I'll stick to it. $14.
$14. Actual retail value of WWF Raw is $14.89.
Damn.
These are some close ones.
You won both showcases on that.
Close ones. Yes, you did. What do you think Flopsy gave WWF Raw?
I mean, this one's got to go 4, right? 4 stars in common.
4 stars in common?
Because I would be shocked if it didn't get a better score than Royal Rumble.
It would be a crime.
It would be a crime because it's a better game. It's the best of the best. So I think 4
I'm going
stars
to game the system here
in common.
and go 3.5 stars and rare.
Okay.
Ooh.
And I'll explain that after Tyler makes his.
Okay.
I'm going to agree with it as 3.5 stars, and I think they're going to cite the roster being weird.
Okay.
As it's saying the same.
Sure.
And I'll take one step the other direction and say uncommon.
Okay. Brooks, what was your reasoning?
So my reasoning is this was the start of the downturn. Royal Rumble was the start of the downturn of wrestling for a little bit. That's when it started to hit a lull and didn't kick back up until 96, 97,
Right.
start of the Attitude Era
Mhm.
and the Monday Night Wars. So that's when 96 was when Monday Nitro started up.
Yes.
Okay. This is solid reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
So
According to Flopsy, WWF Raw, they gave 4 stars. Availability common.
Nailed
so
it.
I think you got
got
it
that
on
one.
both counts, Ian. And I
very nice.
I agree with that. I mean, as far as I personally might not give it 4 stars, but I feel like
In
that
the
build-up-
hierarchy
Yeah.
it's logical. That's the only reason I said what I said.
Right.
And I do think the common thing was because they're just going to dump as many of these things on the market as they can because they have the money and the buying power to do it.
Right.
So why
Which was odd for me because I had this one was Raw was the hardest game for me to find.
really?
I found more of Royal Rumble and Super WrestleMania more than I found Raw whenever I was actively searching for that game.
Super WrestleMania, that
People
one
wanna
makes
keep Raw.
that one
That's the
makes
best line.
sense. Yeah, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, that might have something to do with it too. Yeah, Tyler, people wanted to keep Raw, but also Super WrestleMania had a larger run, so that makes sense. Why you
Yeah.
might find more of those. As far as Royal Rumble, I don't know.
It's middle child, easily forgotten.
Right,
I speak from experience.
Tyler,
Yes, Dave.
if you were to give this game a beard, that sums up how you feel about it. What kind of beard would you give it?
I would give it the kempt dark beard of one Steve Blackman, who was a wrestler I liked, technically sound, but had zero charisma. So I feel like half the equation was there and half the equation wasn't, which is kind of how I feel about some of these games.
Okay.
Okay.
Fun fact with Steve Blackman, he did not participate in the actual shoot fighting competition Brawl for All because he did not want to show everybody that he could beat up everybody on the roster
Wow.
because he was a legit martial artist.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean,
With
I always enjoyed
solid
Steve
wrestling.
Blackman. Yeah.
Tyler,
Yes, Dave.
if you would give this game a pair of glasses, what kind of glasses would you give it?
Give it the wraparound shades of one Bret Hart, because they're definitely a piece of that era.
Okay.
Definitely, that's they show that's definitely the time period that they are
Yeah,
from.
definitely a symbolic of that of the sign of the times. Yes, indeed.
All right. I think that's it.
That's it.
We have plans for next episode to be in all calls because I've got a work trip coming up and it's going to be too much to try to do a game justice. And then after that, we're looking at doing Hook because we had done an
Hell
episode
yeah.
on Hook.
Hell yeah.
We had done an episode on Hook that's no longer up, and we want to replace it. And
Looky, I got a hookie.
that's right.
I mean,
Talking
give-
about it.
Right.
Gives me a chance to play that one.
Right.
I
It's,
never
Yeah.
have.
it's good. I love Hook.
It's one of your. The reason we covered it was because it was one of your picks.
Yep.
I think, right?
Absolutely.
And speaking of, I think if y'all agree, maybe let's just table Community Corner until next time.
Yeah,
We're running a little long.
we're running late.
And we're
Yeah,
doing an all
sorry,
calls
that's my
next
fault.
week.
No,
not
dude.
at all.
Brooks,
We all-
thanks
we
for
all
being
get
on,
that.
Yeah,
man.
dude.
It
Thanks
was,
for coming.
yeah, it was great having you on. You had like really good insight and
Yeah,
love,
for real.
We
love
would not have
talking to you.
had. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And
Thank
then
you.
We're doing all calls next time.
I'm glad I'm glad I was able to do this episode some justice.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
of course, man. Thanks.
Maybe not make it to 714, but a solid 713.
I think we got a
this one's.
715.
I think we're. This is not a 713.
No, it's definitely not 713. This has been a blast.
It's 3 games. This is 7-16.
Yeah,
It's something.
There we go.
I'll figure it out.
So thanks for listening, everybody. You can find the show on iTunes, Spotify, not
Not
SoundCloud.
No,
Not
Stitcher.
Stitcher. Yes, Stitcher. Just Google it. Google Tadpog.
You find it.
Make sure it is.
If it says Tadpole, be like, no,
Nope.
Tadpog.
Next one. But yeah, if you want to call us, we got that all calls episode, but we won't get to your call if you make it within the next week.
Unless we can do 378 calls in one episode.
Let's try.
Speed runs.
Let's try
The
our
all
hardest.
call speed
Okay.
run.
I'm trying to remember when the last call I put in was. I don't know if you guys have reached it yet or not. I don't remember.
I don't blame you.
Well, we'll find out. We just don't know when.
You can call us at 270-883-2555. If you want to send us something to have on the show, a new intro, a little outro, send that to Tadpog Studios, care of Nicole, Nance, PO Box 3785, Paducah, Kentucky 42002. There's more, but most importantly, we got that Patreon.
We do have that Patreon, and we have recently, just the other day, recorded our follow-up to the Scott Pilgrim games, the D&D game that we played recently. That is going to be on Patreon, but good news, everybody. It's free. We're going to
free.
let that one be free. We want you to
news,
get
everybody.
it. Good news, everybody. We want you to be able to listen to that. Also, hopefully, while you're there, you'll be tempted to throw us a buck and
Consider
have
it.
access to the
I'd
access
buy
to
this
our
for $1.
Consider
other
it.
bonus content. Patreon.com/tadpog or pisstasters.com.
Pisstasters.
Jump on in there. We're going to have that up and running here soon, that episode as well. So we'll let you know about that. And Naj, you need to listen because I got a little shout out for you towards the end. Going to need some information from you. Anyway, we do have a list of executive producers. These are the fine folks who donate $20 or more every single month to the show. We really appreciate it. And
Yes.
the least I can do is read your names on the show. So I'm going to do that now, starting with Usurper Grim, Cousin David Galino, Plinko Nick Price, Cubicle Monkey, Enthusiast Jeff Miners, Master Cycle Baron Kevin Link, Joseph Phillips, Gamebug Prime, Nathan Eaton, Matt Gentile, a.k.a. Gentle G, Princess Consuela, Banana Hammock, Flavor Trick, Taryn Dahl, congratulations on your marriage, Pinball, Airplane, Archmage, Chris Edler. We're sorry you couldn't be on this episode. We are glad, though, that Brooks could be on this episode.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Platinum member Brett Miller, Sandwich Pope Phil Hawkins, Nate from Utah, first-time caller, Drinksmith Joey Webster, Dick Dougie, Derek Pope Sandwich, and last but not least, our most just trying his best to donate some money to us.
Yes.
And having a little problem, but we applaud the effort.
Yes.
We hope it goes through for you and you don't get charged multiple times.
That won't happen.
Cody Phillips, thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Cody.
To all of our donors, big and small, every little bit counts.
Yes.
We are certainly grateful. We use the money to keep doing the show to the level that we love to do it. And as always, I'd like to thank the ever enigmatic Mr. Puzzles, Backlog Banisher Dane, for putting our episodes up on YouTube every single week. of his own volition on his free time because he's just that kind of person.
Yes.
I think that's all.
Thank you, Dave.
There will be an update regarding the t-shirts as soon as we have one. Again, I'm expecting possibly mid-June these will be in and being shipped. We will let you know as soon as we do find out. And we will have a little bit of a surplus. So if you missed your chance to buy one, you will have the opportunity to pick one up. We will let you know when that happens. All of this was courtesy of and thanks to the efforts of the wonderful people at bossbattles.gg. Thank you guys for that. And I think that's what I've got. I think we're good.
Brooks, what is our theme song?
Your theme song is Moves by Sycamore Drive.
How would you guys have to close out this show?
As your favorite wrestler.
Okay. So until next time.
Tropical
Capricorn. Oh, yeah.
Dig it!
Fired up.
Courtesy of Brooks. All right. And now, a dramatic reading. Hulk Hogan. Have a question to answer your question. As you, Hulk Hogan, travel to WrestleMania. By conventional means, the normals you travel with experience malfunctions. Ultimate Warrior may have been having some damage here. As you realize all that is left is your total self-destruction. Do you, Hulk Hogan, show self-pity? Do you, Hulk Hogan, try to reason why? Do you, Hulk Hogan, try and comfort the normals that have even more fear than you? Or do you, Hulk Hogan, kick the doors out, kick the cockpit door down, take the two pilots that have already made this sacrifice that you can face this challenge, dispose of them, Hulk Hogan, assume the controls, Hulk Hogan, shove that control into a nosedive, Hulk Hogan. Push yourself to a total self-destruction as you realize, Hulk Hogan, that you are about to enter a world close to parts unknown. Ah, smell it, warriors! Do you, Hulk Hogan, look for a place to hide?
Exterminate!
Or do you, Hulk Hogan, face the challenge?
Of the Dalek.
You may be more powerful than even you are, Hulk Hogan. You, Hulk Hogan, must self-destruct so that you will know Hulk Hogan, who is the chosen one for Hulk Hogan. I am not the chosen one that you speak of. I am not. I, Hulk Hogan, am the only one.
What the fuck was that?
It was the Ultimate
That
Warrior
was
telling
an
Hulk
ultimate-
Hogan to commit an act of terrorism and take a plane and crash it.
That was the most coherent Ultimate Warrior promo that has ever been recorded. Because the rest of them are coked up.
The rest of them are?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Ultimate Warrior
Just
like to give speeches.
Yeah, that one he is slow and you can understand what he is saying. The other ones are like extremely fast paced and nonstop.
Speaking of nonstop, that is not what's happening now. I'm hitting stop.
Meow.
Bye.